Yeah. Packs in the mail, packs on the road. Connect FaceTime, said he just sent the last of my load. The shit on my neck that come from the packs that I sold. I never went platinum or gold. You still fuck with him and you know he a rat and he told. Love when a nigga talk stupid, cause that's when shots running down and he clapping his pole. Trust me, that doesn't bode well for a nigga. It's gonna be victims. I'm a street nigga, boy, you know the difference. Hand around the throat of the rap game and I'm bold constricted. My soul is missing in the top spot, I got soul position. Man, this hoe is tripping. She think I wanna taste the pussy, I ain't tasting shit like a COVID symptom. I'm a social.
Look, I got no resistance with a Colt 45 gold edition. I'm a dope magician, niggas disappearing if I hear him dissing. Killer engineering, killer nigga mixing. In the 6 niggas still flipping Nixon. Second strike, they finna Billy Clinton. Red and white, he got the blues, turn him into food. Everybody grip a biscuit, running lights inside the city limits. I'm excited, my little shout she the shit and we inside of something simple with suicidal. Finish the sentence, door closed, chop the head off a chicken. Morse code if I'm talking, I'm clicking. Lights flicking, tell him hold your position. Money motivated, mind on the mission. Straps in the lap, in the pack, got a lock on the back of the cabinet doors. I lit a match for the torch in the game, for the real niggas only, the fake get exposed. Scraping the plate, breaking the bowl, making the shake, taking it home. I'm in the A with the case, so come on if you crazy. Cold ass world, going out guns blazing. Fuck what you niggas saying.
Going out guns blazing, cold ass world, niggas get done flagrant. World gone mad, even my son vaping. I'm in my bag, nigga, I'm done playing with you. Getting rich on side like it's based in the 80s. Spot jumping like Tracy McGrady. 10 chains on, niggas face looking crazy. I still get a paycheck from Shady. Yeah, I got my reasons, yeah. My little niggas is demons, yeah. They pull up and shoot for no reason, yeah. I got my reasons, yeah. I got my reasons, nigga. I got my reasons. I got my reasons, yeah, yeah. I got my reasons, yeah, yeah. I got my reasons, yeah, yeah. I got my reasons, yeah. I got my reasons, yeah.
You so thirsty, you drinking poison, nigga. You ain't gangster, stop kidding around, bring the toys in, nigga. Luda's your daddy, you should be happy I'm giving you playtime. But none of you rappers could see me, not even if I was to pick up on FaceTime. You wasting time hating on another nigga when you could be making money yourself, ho. Featherweights, I make them levitate, get spanked with a heavyweight belt, ho. Oh, and the crowd goes wild. Creed 2, tell them throw in the towel. Cocaine is a hell of a drug, like Rick James, have a coke and a smile. Fuck your couch and your whole existence. You leaving your family and the kids defenseless. Headed to an early grave, now you dead and broke. Life beat them senseless, get it? Bow down to rap's dignitary, cause Luda always been a visionary. I always knew you was a bitch, so I just read your obituary, nigga.
Yeah, I got my reasons, yeah. My little niggas is demons, yeah. They pull up and shoot for no reason, yeah. I got my reasons, yeah.
There go the car, poof, there go the crib, poof, 100 mil, David Copperfield, David Copperfield, David Copperfield, poof, there go the car, poof, there go the crib, poof, 100 mil, David Copperfield, David Copperfield, David Copperfield.
Could you not that hoe? Could you blame that bitch? Cause you wanna roll with a real nigga like me that's gon' sling that dick like cold to a fiend. Fuck flow on the lean, take long on the perk, that hoe on the beam. Still money over these hoes, got why I sell my clothes. And blood drip on my sneakers, nigga you hating on me, she chose. Night fuck your girl, she roll, my thick shift, she drove. Did everything that she posed, I pulled my camera out, she posed. And I was like, got that, drop that, pop that. Got the top back on the drop back, I'm back in the Glock hat with a crotch at. I'm strapped on the rocks head with a watch at. Stop that, cause you caught that, not that. I'm lacing to my back, down tech, I'm catching on contact. Got racked, y'all niggas ain't bout that life.
Poof, there go the car, poof, there go the crib, poof, 100 mil, David Copperfield, David Copperfield, David Copperfield, poof, there go the car, poof, there go the crib, poof, 100 mil, David Copperfield, David Copperfield, David David Copperfield.
Nigga, fuck your life. Fuck your niggas and fuck your wife. Got 2 bad bitches with a nigga in, know they gon' fuck all night. And I rock hard white. Nigga, rich game pride. I pull up on horse and I'm sitting on fours in the big boy drive. Call big boy shot. All clear stones in my big boy watch. All year long, got the strip on lock. Every time we in this bitch, man, shit gon' pop. My hip on glide. Your hip on none. My niggas got racks. Y'all niggas be frying. Red Carter, yeah. Red bone bitch. Red bottoms on her. Hair long as shit. Hold up. Yellow gold rope. Yellow bone hoe. In yellow bottles of spade, nigga. Whole click some made, niggas.
Poof, there go the car. Poof, there go the crib. Poof, 100 mil. David Copperfield. David Copperfield. David Copperfield. Poof, there go the car. Poof, there go the crib. Poof, 100 mil. David Copperfield. David Copperfield. David Copperfield.
Those are my babies in the background. On God, I'm extra unique. My whole aura scream talent. I've been listening to feel like Griselda and Marvin Winans just to make sure I'm balanced. I'm from the West, yeah. Half of my partners is savage, the other half made it out the mud, but the taste of sludge didn't alter their palate. Ooh, I'm a dog, I'm a beast, and your father figure. That little P365 was just fast starter pistol. She got a scorpion too, and a sting is just like a scorpion do. If a demon get gregarious, my little hair don't do what accordions do. That means fold, I was told by the G's of old. Keep your lady close, make sure she can work a pole. But they wasn't referring to strippers. I'm still buffet with the Clippers. I done been blessed with a woman that pray if it but turn a freak on the liquor. She keep the devil on me like the cherubim. She make it glitter hoes that we ain't sharing on my bush. Then you can ease it like a chariot. DK a legend, hey, we had to bury him more. Yeah, but that's how it be in the jungle. I grew up around wildlings and mongrels, ready to slump you, murky or jump, yeah. I rock the slides to be humble. I told my baby girl she gon' have more in her head than just product and bundle. They say I'm rapping with hunger. I tell them hell no, I'm eating. If you book me for a show and I can't bring my wife and my babies, I'm leaving. Big daddy energy speaking. I keep the enemy tweaking. I could go all on the track and they'll say I'm the hardest one breathing. I am a beacon for heathens. Me and my hood got cohesion. It told me keep a little 38 special that bless you when ain't no one sneezing. It's all fine. If you're black, we in sync. Bye. That's my side. Throw it up, I'ma put it down until I die. This whole vibe, yo. If you black, we in sync. Bye. That's my side. Throw it up and I'ma put it down until I die.
Oh God, I'm extra petite, but the hood call me fat. Fine on me like Shadrach and Meshach. I keep peace for the scrap. Throw up the waist, but let's just keep it a stat. I was raised around rappers while pops was inactive. My mama was forced to adapt. Ooh, she held it down, that's nothing new. I'm black in America. Raised in the slums, came up from crumbs. Now we cool with Erica. Ooh, I'm talking Badu. I don't know why you don't recognize me until giving go just like a drive-through. School of hard knocks, only thing I applied to, and I gotta admit it, I ain't kidding, they glorious. I feel like Diddy, Toby, Biggie, we notorious, But it's so much more to us, might get a Grammy. That's the floor to us. Drop 2 kids, lifestyle laborious. Don't need oracles, I ain't Morpheus. I am still the young queen, mother, baby.
What it do?
If you breed and don't care for your seed, what is you? Say it with me. This fall, y'all don't know. Big fat, but I ain't swole. Little boys gon' dress me like big bro. Rihanna ain't the only one that do it grande. Knew what be his fiancé when he was broke on Causeway. And he ain't even hit his peak like Dante. And I ain't Kim.
What that mean?
Toe can't never go Kanye.
This whole vibe. If you black, we in sync. Bye. That's my side. Throw it up and I'ma put it down until I die. This whole vibe. If you black, we ain't sync. Bye, bye, bye. West, that's my side. Throw it up and I'ma put it down until I die. Yeah, keep it going. Until I die. Until I die. Yeah. Until I die. Yeah. Luke, talk to him.
I say it's so bye-bye. If you black, we'll sing bye-bye. It's my side. Throw it up and I'ma put it down till I
Talk to him, son.
It's so fine. If you black, we'll sing bye-bye. West, that's my side. Throw it up and I'ma put it down until I die.
This whole vibe. If you're black, we ain't sing. Yeah. That's my side. Throw it up and I'ma put it down until I die. Some more. No, until I die. Until I die. Until I die. Until I die. Yeah, that was the at the crib version of Fi-Fi. That was fired up.
Oh, nice.
Alright, what song we gonna do next? Try Jesus, yeah, not me, yeah, 'cause I throw hands, yeah.
I've been going silly for the west side. You might catch me rolling where the reps ride. Ain't no opposition, I'm the best ride. I might take my city on a test drive. You don't wanna see me on a good day. You don't wanna see me on a bad day. I was just a nigga with some hoop dreams. Now I'm in the league, bitch. Now I'm in the league, bitch. I can stand up, but I just lay low. Smoking marijuana till I wake up. May not understand it 'cause it's all real. And I don't really give a damn how y'all feel. Baby, I'm just trying to let my head down. Baby, I'm just trying to let my head down. Everybody's watching, I'm aware now. But I can't find a reason I should care now. Baby, I'm just trying to let my... If I take off my coat, do you promise to stay? If I give you my heart, would you throw it away? Do you mean what you say when you tell me you love me? Do you really? Do you really?
Bitty bitty bitch, as a numerologist, got your number where I live. I'ma get you out of pocket like a quarterback blitz. That's an everyday faucet, make it wet, make it rinse. Skeletons in your closet, but your past don't exist. Got a pad on your list, got a pad on your line. Calabas ain't the move, that's where everybody live. Plus the mountain is hot, you forgot what you got.
Hold up, nuisance. I recommend I'm on with acoustic. I recommend a beer for the juices. I recommend you live where the truth is. Psychedelic views and infinity pools your check, you know. Once I sweat them edges up. Head down like vanity. I got the fuck ups, I got the damage fees, I got the gold dust, I got the anesthesia when you chose up. This ain't a fantasy, we bout to go up. See, underhanded me, never got no love, but understanding me, maybe can mold us. And
baby, I'm just trying to let my hair down. Baby, I'm just trying to let my hair down. Everybody's watching, I'm aware now. But I can't find a reason I should care now. Baby, I'm just trying to let my... If I take off my coat, do you promise to stay? If I give you my heart, would you throw it away? Do you mean what you say when you tell me you love me? Do you really? Do you really?
Welcome to the future.
Look, the only reason I survive, cause a nigga is special first. You get successful, then it gets stressful thirst. Niggas gon' test you, see what your texture's worth. Diamonds and pipes, one of them precious first. Street niggas, still I get checks and spurts. I'm for peace, but before I get pressed, I'm murked. Better days prayed for, but expecting worse. At this level, bullshit, I'm slick concerned. Cruising in the six, looking at the proceeds of rap music on my wrist. Drop another mixtape, my shit booming out this bitch. Young Malcolm, I'm the leader of the movement out this bitch. Look, and this is what it feels like. Reaching level make you question, is it real life? All the weed good, all the pussy real tight. Only brew, keep your dollar bills right. What it feels like. And this is what it feels like. This is what it feels like. And this is what it feels like.
Scorpion bricks, way before Orbeez double disc. 40 on my lap, clap, sound like 40 did the mix. Filtered bass, sip coke, like a Michelin star chef. Kiss to my wrist, I go dummy with my left. IRS on my dick, try to audit all my checks. Too late, you know they hate when you become more than they expect. You let them crackers storm your capital, put their feet up on your desk, and yet you talking tough to me. I lost all my little respect, I'm selling weed in the open, bringing folks home from the feds. I know the payback gon' be me. I'm saving all my little bread, pray for me, y'all. One day I'ma have to pay for these thoughts. Real niggas is extinct, it ain't safe for me, my dog. They killing niggas in their own hood, that makes sense to you at all. You burnt your bridge to the other side, you know you can't swim across. Y'all know niggas can't swim, they tried my yacht, he died. Y'all know niggas can't win, you never land on your side. I arrived on the day Fred Hampton got assassinated, just to clarify further. What y'all gave birth to, the chairman mixed with Jeff Force. Big step on the jet with my legs crossed. Black stones on my neck, y'all can't kill Christ. Black Messiah is what I feel like. This shit ain't gon' stop till y'all spill blood. We gon' turn up even more since y'all killed blood.
What it feels like. And this is what it feels like. And this is what it feels like. And this is what it feels like.
Out tonight. Obviously, couldn't be with us for this campaign mix, but definitely check us out each and every Sunday right here, 8 to 9 o'clock for the campaign mix. You dig? Tonight, obviously, we going to Aboriginal Wall Street. It is the first of the month, and we will be dealing with this thing accordingly with economics, current events, cultural things of today's time. I got a couple special guests pulling up on me as usual. Some of the usual, individuals, worldly indigenous fresh individuals, I would say, just going to pull up on us and give us some good information. Also, before we go until 9 o'clock hits, being that we don't got the live mixing situation, I'm gonna make up for my toothache last week because between Advils and alcohol, I know I was turned last week. So excuse my cussing, my French words last week, my misspellings last week, and all that good stuff. Everybody's human. I was one definitely last week. A tooth will bring you down to you. You already know if anybody's had a toothache before. But either way, though, last week we did go into some pieces of the manumission, and it's been interesting because we've coined this time frame of February with the American freedman term. And I know some people might disagree to agree with the situation of what we said, because they used the Black History Month for, African American history, whatever they subscribe to. But from the fact that we're talking about, because of the fact, as we self-identify over here as Aboriginal Americans, indigenous individuals or indigenous Americans, and all the variations and backgrounds and cultures that go with it in today's time frame, this freedman status situation is something that goes into it, and why we wanted to highlight the freedman individual. You know what I'm saying? The freedmans were the ones behind what we would call today Black Wall Street. You can find a lot of things on the freedmen in that Oklahoma, Tulsa situation. Obviously, people know about Black Wall Street, and that's why we named it Aboriginal Wall Street in today's time, just to give it that understanding of things. But it was from freedmen, though, that a lot of these towns, not just the one in Tulsa, that most people, would know about, that did some things and were doing prominent things with insurance, banking, and the church involved in these particular towns that would be considered freedmen, or certain type of towns that can also be found, as sometimes I found too documented, Masonic towns. So, we're going to go into some things with that before we do have our special guest tonight. Can I get a piece of that manumission joint? No, we gonna do this because we gonna wait for that. Let me get the Baron of Wall Street real quick. Let's go into him real quick. The Baron of Black Wall Street. Let's pull him up real quick. And shout out to Baron Sonny Brothers, BSB. Shout out to Through the Campaign. We on Museum Media Lounge each and every Sunday, as you know. And we got some stuff kicking in the spring coming up, so definitely tap into it. It's coming up soon by March 21st. That equinox time frame, top of the year. So, but Wall Street though, because it is Wall Street vibe tonight. So we did in this Freedman Month want to cover a couple of freedmen they will call, or in these areas, and different history that kind of goes with it. So while we buy a little time in this mixed time, I want to kind of give you a little bit of that before we bring on a couple of our guests tonight. You know which one I'm looking for, God? So yeah, we about to pull up the Baron of Black Wall Street, this article. I had to favor that one to pull up as an example because of the fact that we favor that term Baron, which is a French term, a nobility term, actually a term from one of the lowest individuals in the nobility, but still considered a noble person. I wonder if they would be considered a freedman too, or would that be nobility? Either way. This freedman term, as we've always told you, is dealing with a lot of history, but obviously dealing with the Wall Street situation. Forbes seemed to want to cover, dealing with this person in particular and how they coined this article. Let's get to it so they can see what the article is coined real quick. The Baron of Black Wall Street. So it says a century ago, O.W. Gurley built an empire of African American businesses in Tulsa. Although it all came burning down in the massacre of 1921, new generations of entrepreneurs rose from the ashes. Excuse me. This is Otto W. Gurley knew he would never be a success in the Jim Crow South. Born on Christmas Day, 1868, to a freed slaves in Huntsville, Alabama. He grew up in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, where he was largely self-educated. Gurley married his childhood sweetheart, Emma, became a teacher, and then took relatively cushy job with the U.S. Postal Service, but he dreamed of a better life in America. Along with his new bride, Gurley risked everything to join a stampede of homesteaders seeking freedom, opportunity, and wealth in the great Oklahoma land of rush. Like how they use that, a great Oklahoma land rush. I said of rush, but it's land rush. It's on September 16, 1893. The 25-year-old entrepreneur joined the Cherokee Outlet opening, running 50 miles before finally stopping at the plot of a prairie grass. Standing on a plot of land with Emma, he staked a claim in what would soon become Perry, Oklahoma, one of the many towns advertised to blacks in the new territory. Gurley envisioned Oklahoma as a start of the new life for black Americans decades after emancipation, and he was ambitious. He ran for a county treasurer and made principal at the town school and ultimately opened a successful general store, which he ran for a decade. By the turn of the century, Gurley and his fellow homesteaders heard tales of giant oil fields in the nearby boomtown of Tulsa, a gusher well called the Ida Glen Number One, the first find of the massive mid-continent oil field, was making local Tulsians rich and eventually turned no-name wildcatters Harry Ford, Sinclair, and J. Paul Getty into oil barons. Barons, that Sarah Rector. Everybody know about the story of Sarah Rector. She became also a baroness, the feminine form for baron, because of being allotted some land in that same area, being considered an oil baron. So that's very interesting that, that kicks in as well. So that we're gonna move up one more time, go up a little bit more before we got and get to this Greenwood. I went to Greenwood Elementary too. Shout out to Greenwood Elementary, Norfolk, Virginia. Dig. Gurley knew freemen and sharecroppers would make their way to Tulsa. So he built a grocery store on an avenue and others named Greenwood. After a town in Mississippi, he then subdivided his land into residential and commercial lots. As Gurley expected, Greenwood soon became a beacon of wealth, education, advancement, rivaling areas of New York, Chicago, Atlanta. Doctors, lawyers, realtors flourished. Luxury hotels were built and millionaires were minted. And because all of those businesses were black owned, Booker T. Washington himself dubbed Greenwood Negro Wall Street. Greenwood was perceived as a place to escape oppression, economic, social, political oppression in the Deep South. So Hannibal B. Johnson, a Tulsa-based historian has written numerous books about Greenwood, including Black Wall Street. It was an economy born of necessity. It would have existed had it not been for Jim Crow segregation and the inability of black folks to participate to a substantial degree in the larger white dominated economy. So, all of that comes into place, and I wanted to make sure I kind of give you that about him. This article right here is from Forbes. They got the information on the Baron of Wall Street. You know what I mean? Gurley. This guy Gurley. You already noticed they said he made a move with the Cherokee. God, that the outlet opening was Cherokee. Can you pull up the other joint I got dealing with the freedmen and the black Native American joint? Freedmen's effect on Black Wall Street. No, go back to that one. Give me that one next year. It's still in Tulsa, so we're gonna go online. I ain't gonna skip it. So I thought I gave you another one too. Shoot. Yeah, give me that one. That's it. So yeah, so at this time, you know, it's interesting how they talk about Gurley. You know what I mean? And Gurley being considered a baron, you do some information and research on his surname and go back and see some of the admixtures and different things they talk about as he's surrounded by him and his wife. But we still obviously are just having a conversation tonight, but Wall Street. So I want to mention that part and the effects that freedmen, as they would call it, had on what they call Black Wall Street. You know what I'm saying? And this article comes up and it says U.S. treaties compelled 5 slave-owning tribes, the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, the Cherokee, the Muskogee Creek, and the Seminoles, to share tribal land and other resources and rights with freed black people who had been enslaved. Now we can go down a little bit here. And it's going to say Tulsa, Oklahoma, in a century-old family story about a teenage aunt who liked to drive her luxury car down the trolley tracks of Tulsa. Christy Williams still savors a tiny lingering state of how different life could have been for all Black Americans after slavery. On Monday, Tulsans commemorated the 100th anniversary of two-day assault by armed white men on Tulsa's prosperous Black community of Greenwood, known around the country as Black Wall Street, calling attention to the era of deadly mob assaults on Black communities that official history long suppressed. So as it goes into, it says, Buck Williams and other descendants of the free Black people enslaved in Native American nations who once owned much of the land under Tulsa say there's another part of Black Wall Street's history that more Americans need to know about. It says it has, it's one that has important lessons of contemporary racial issues in the United States, including long debated matter of reparations. Descendants and historians say, keep going, that the ability, a bit of history where much of the seed money that made Black Wall Street boom came from. So you see this picture of the brother they got up here, and his name is Ejunwale Amusan to the right of the plaque you see up there. And it's going to tell you that this guy is speaking about what's going on. It says, unlike Black Americans across the country after slavery, Williams' ancestors and thousands of other Black members of the slave-owning tribal nations freed after the war had land, says Williams. A Tulsa community activist had opportunity to build a house on that land, farm that land, and were wealthy with their crops. And what was huge, a great opportunity in your thinking is going to last for generations to come. I can leave my children this land, and they can leave their children this land, recounts Williams, whose ancestor went from enslaved laborer to judge of the Muskogee Creek Tribal Supreme Court after slavery. Wow, look at that. So it says, in fact, Alania E. Roberts, an assistant professor at the University of Pittsburgh, writes in her book, I've been here all the while. Black freedmen on native land. I freed slaves of five native nations, became the only people of African descent in the world to receive what might be viewed as reparations for their enslavement on large scale. Why that happened in the territory that became Oklahoma and not the rest of the slaveholding South? Good question. The U.S. government enforced stricter terms for Reconstruction on its slave-owning tribal nations that had fully or partially allied with the Confederacy than it had on its own, the Confederacy than it had on Southern states. While the U.S. officials quickly broke General Williams T. Sherman's famous Special Field Order Number 15, providing 40 acres for each formerly enslaved family after the Civil War. U.S. treaties compelled 5 slave-owning tribes, the Choctaws, the Chickasaws, the Cherokees, the Muskogee Creek, and Seminoles, to share tribal land and other resources and rights with the freed Black people who had been enslaved. By 1860, about 14% of the total population of the tribal territory of the future state of Oklahoma were Black people enslaved by tribal citizens after the Civil War. The Black tribal freedmen held millions of acres in common with tribal citizens and later the large individual allotments. So, I mean, again, I just wanted to put that in there that, as you see, when you hear about Black Wall Street, you hear about Tulsa, which is the most famous one, I think, because obviously the combination of the territory it is located at and obviously the people who are connected to the 5 civilized tribes that they are saying were slaves, and you can find them on the rolls at one time, and then all of a sudden they become considered slaves of these people because they were labeled freedmen, which is a term that is denoting somebody that has been freed from slavery. So in the case of that, situation, I think that confusion comes from people not understanding this manumission system that is going on even then. amongst these different groups of people who are using the same type of systematic ways to depress people. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I need you to send an email. You say you got a new email to send it to, so I'm gonna send it to you right now. Yeah, so basically, I wanted to kind of cover that right there and just kind of go over the fact that for those that might not have known, that do know, being almost some people might not know, to come back and watch the show. That these five civilized tribes in Oklahoma, and to this day, matter of fact, Oklahoma is still considered Indian territory. So case law is still on Supreme Court that is considered that to this day. But now the thing is, can we? I don't know if I sent you this, but can you just pull up the Refugee Freedmen and Abandoned Lands Bureau that led to the banking situation with, you know, how these people got this money? You know what I'm saying? Before we pull up our first couple guests tonight, because I think that that's them people I've heard recently did not know what that everybody's been talking about out there, that the Freedmen Bureau, the bank, like that's literally in 1865 is literally the real name is originally the Refugee Freedmen and Abandoned Lands Bureau. That's the shortened part, the Freedmen part. That's short. I think that kind of leads us out of the fact that when you just hear me read how it talks about people that were in this allied with the Confederacy, or also located in southern states, which would be outside of the Union's jurisdiction at the time before 1865 and the emancipation takes place. So these people will actually be considered refugees at this time frame. So they still are being labeled, though, when they did the Bureau, to say that they needed to make sure that they had to account for people who were in these areas that would be considered Confederate areas, and also account for these people that would also be considered refugees. Hmm. And some people might look at that as in a bad way because of how they spend it in these day and time, because of how, we look at, as I heard somebody, a sister say the other day, benefits that you might get from, assimilating or following or moving and being subject or citizen to that system that was being set up by the United States of America at that time, that colony, the American colony, as they want to call it, in some documents you might find. So as it says here, the Freedmen's Bureau, the Bureau of Refugees, Freedmen, Abandoned Lands, Record Group 105, also known as the Freedmen's Bureau, was established in the War Department by the Act of Congress on March 3rd, 1865. The Bureau was responsible for the supervision and management of all matters relating to the refugees and freedmen and lands abandoned or seized during the Civil War, duties previously shared by military commanders and the U.S. Treasury Department officials. In May 1865, President Andrew Jackson appointed him. Excuse me? Johnson, I said it wrong, sorry. Andrew Johnson, I said Jackson, you're right. President Andrew Johnson appointed Major Gen. Oliver Otis Howard as the commissioner of the Freedmen's Bureau. Howard's headquarters were in Washington, D.C., but assistant commissioner or commissioners, sub-assistant commissioners, and agents conducted the Bureau daily operations in the former Confederate states, the border states, and the District of Columbia. Although the Bureau was not abolished until 1872, the bulk of its work was conducted from June 1865 to December 1868. While a major part of the Bureau's early activities included the supervision of abandoned and confiscated property, its mission was to provide relief and help formerly enslaved people to become self-sufficient. The Bureau functions included issues, rations, and clothing, operating hospitals and refugee camps, and supervising labor contracts between planters and freed people with a D, not free people, but with a D, which is going to go back to that emancipation. You've been emancipated, see? The Bureau also managed apprenticeship, which is still a manumission, disputes and complaints, assisted benefit societies in establishment of schools, helped in legalizing marriages entered into during slavery, and provided transportation to refugees and freed people who were attempting to reunite with their families and relocate to other parts of the country. As Congress extended to the life of the Bureau, it added other duties such as assisting Black soldiers and sailors in obtaining back pay, bounty payments, and pensions. Because of the Bureau's records contains a wide range of data about the African American experience during slavery and Reconstruction. They're an invaluable source of historians, social scientists, and genealogists. So, yeah, I want to get that part just so to get a little body of the work. Can we get to that other joint I got on the Wall Street now that I got that out the way? Because I want to share with you. So we did let you know that obviously the refugee freedman situation is connected to that. That's what. That's it. And the that obviously we know that the freedmen, we got Native Americans, what they would call Aboriginal indigenous people, or at least the ones they call civilized ones that they call themselves, talking about a lot. And then we're also dealing with, you know, this Tulsa that came in after the fact of what happened in, with the Trail of Tears and all that stuff like that. So, this article right here is from Time, you know what I mean? So we're using you these other people that are talking about this issue and how certain things happen with the Black Wall Street and in Greenwood. You know what I mean? So, and they all are saying something very similar to that, what happened right after the Civil War and how people went west after the Civil War. Can we move up a little bit though? I know that's there, but let me. No. Go up more. Go up more. I don't want to get into all that right there. Keep going. All right, here we go. Right here. I want this one. So on this one though, it's going to go into. It says designed to help to safeguard the black. This is what the rise and fall of Richmond's Jackson Ward. So this happened to be a whole nother location, but the Jackson Ward is something I want to point out with a Black Wall Street scenario. It says designed to help safeguard Black Americans' investments and savings. The Freedmen's Bank was incorporated by President Abraham Lincoln in 1865, but it failed in 1864 after white trustees. See, I wanted that for that reason. That's why I wanted that. You see that guy? Trustees. Because in other things they say bankers. But in this one, it's letting you know it says white trustees. Squandered billions of dollars of Black Americans' money on risky ventures and speculation. With the loss of the Freedmen's Bank came the loss of millions of dollars of African American wealth, but also a loss of confidence in the banking system. Historian Shanette Garrett Scott, author of Banking on Freedom, Black Woman in the U.S. Finance Before the New Deal, told Time in an interview for this video, it is also really attuned them to the fact that the belief that they needed to control their own banking institutions. Now we're going to come down a little bit. It was during this period after the Civil War and the rise of the Jim Crow in the late 19th century and the early 20th century that Black Wall Streets first emerged as Black Americans in segregated areas created their own businesses to support their own communities. These people are trying to become autonomous as possible at this time, right? It says established in 1871, the Jackson Ward District of Richmond became known as the Harlem of the South. The Southern Aid and Insurance Company, also known as the Southern Aid Life Insurance Company, founded there in 1893, was considered the first Black-owned and operated life insurance company. At the center of success of these institutions in Richmond were entrepreneurs like Rev. Williams Washington Brown, with the E on the end, and says who went from escaping enslavement during the Civil War to starting a mutual aid society called True Informers. John Mitchell Jr., the 20-something editor of Richmond Planet newspaper, which sought to expose lynchings, and Maggie Lena Walker, the first Black woman to be a bank president. In addition to running a newspaper, a department store, and a life insurance company, she ran St. Luke Penny Savings Bank from 1903 to 1934. Now, you see how they say she black out. She a mulatto? Or she just fit in the free people of color category? I mean, is it a black and white picture? Am I confused? See how we had to play the game since they colorize it. Either way, they were just saying because they said she black, right? I'm saying Michael Jackson said, "Don't matter if you black or white." I guess I guess in this situation, but interesting enough, this area with people that look like her and other people that were of different free people of color, by the way, in this area became the. You see that Harlem of the South, man. This is like Black Wall Street right here. This is another Black Wall Street town. They got big business going on. They own banks. They got their own insurance company. They got their own churches. You know what I'm saying? They doing their thing. They feel like they doing it. They got their thing popping. Walker explained her vision for the Black-owned bank in 1901 at the annual convention of the Mutual Aid Society that inspired the bank. The Independent Order of St. Luke first being the savings bank, she said, "Let us put our money together. Let us use our monies. Let us put our money out at usury among others and reap the benefit ourselves. Let us have a bank that would take the nickels and turn them into dollars." During the Great Depression, Walker's bank merged with two other banks and became the Consolidated Bank and Trust Company, and was at one point the longest running Black owned bank in the US until it was acquired in 2005. Ain't that some shit? I don't know a lot of people knew that. You know what I mean? I just want to point that out because I thought that Black Wall Street, Aboriginal Wall Street, towns and stuff outside of Tulsa, you know what I mean? Banking, insurance back then, you know what I mean? This is after certain things took place, right? So, while Tulsa's Black Wall Street was burned to the ground in 1921, Black Wall Street, like Richmond, suffered a slower death. Can you scroll up a little bit for me? Garrett Scott says of their decline, Jackson Ward peak ran from right after the Civil War to the Depression, and its decline hastened after the World War II due to a combination of redlining, and then that's why you got redlining is a thing. It says slum clearance, which raised older buildings and entire neighborhoods and highways developed in the 1960s and the 1970s that cut through these areas and enabled drivers to bypass them. The gains of the civil rights movement also created new opportunities for places to live and work outside of the neighborhood, exacerbating the decline of Jackson Ward. So I wanted to just give a shout out real quick. You know what I mean? That Carolina, Black Wall Street, Aboriginal people of color Wall Street. You know what I'm saying? Business Bureau and District. People doing their thing at that time that don't might get mentioned. You know what I mean? It is American Freedmen Month. I might as well go ahead and shout them out. You hear me? Sometimes they don't get their recognition in history. You know what I'm saying? Whatever they was doing and whatever they went through at that time to make that happen. You know what I mean? They got to get their shout out real quick on Aboriginal Wall Street tonight. So I had to throw them in there. So do I have anything else on the Freedmen joint over there in my archive for this conversation? I'm just making sure I covered everything I want to cover before I bring on a guest. Let me see where I'm at. Let me see if I'm. Yeah, give me that one before we come in. Let me get that one. I knew it was something else there. So yeah, so overall, you know what I mean, that's a couple things before we go into our bet money. Who's that? Okay. So y'all want to make sure I covered that couple things. Can I get that last thing before we pull up our guest for the night, you know what I'm saying, for Aboriginal Wall Street conversation? Because again, I'm segueing, but I'm using the Aboriginal historical things. Black Wall Street. I don't like black. You know how we feel about it because I got a black shirt on, black hat. They don't match my skin. But either way, the burning of Black Wall Street. We're going to scroll up. It says, every year on Memorial Day, the annual mourning of those who died while serving in the U.S. military colors the day. Parades stream down tiny main streets and wide avenues across the country. The United States flags lowers to half-staff. Volunteers will add miniature flags to grave sites. A national moment of remembrance takes place. The yearly observation, by most accounts, traces its roots back to the Civil War for those Black folks who lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma on Memorial Day, May 31st, 1921. The fact carries a cruel irony on the night that the first Black screams on Tulsa massacre were heard. Incited by reports of a black man, a 19-year-old shoe shiner named Dick Rowland, accosting a white woman. That's what he used, accosting a white woman, elevator operator Sarah Page. The gruesome event witnessed racist white crossing the train tracks into Greenwood, the black section of town revered by revered, as Black Wall Street, to enact revenge. Over the course of 16 sickening hours, which saw gunfire, lynching, coordinated aerial assaults, an estimated 100 and 300 people were murdered. The great majority of them were African American, they say. 100 years after the tragedy, questions still remain. Exactly how many people lost their lives, and where are their bodies? So I like to use this word again. It's American Freedmen Month, so I'm gonna use the word freedmen this time. But I'm gonna show. I have to read what they say here, so you won't say I'm doing anything kind of pseudo, right? But I'm letting you know this word African. Really, I'm gonna say freedmen. Got 200, 300 freedmen got murdered during this time. To know the story of the massacre, one must first learn the origins of Tulsa. Comora reaches back to 1830s to unveil how the five civilized tribes, Cherokee, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Creek, and Seminole, first owned black slaves in their native southern states. Upon the 1830 Indian Removal Act, Native American slave owners took their property, it says, with them on the Trail of Tears. The five civilized tribes even supported the Confederacy during the Civil War. So when you hear about the five civilized tribes, some of them assimilating and going to this place called Oklahoma, but then you have some of them who sided with the Confederacy and stayed in the Confederate States. So obviously, these people will obviously at 1865 be actually labeled as refugees if you do a little more research. But still, I'm reading this part right where I'm at. It says, for the most, including myself, these revelations will come as a surprise. What they divulge is how African Americans, American freedmen, even among a group of similarly hated by white folks, still occupy the lowest rung in the American experiment. Occupy the lowest rung. What kind of language they use? You know what I mean? I'm just the lowest level. You know what I mean? Lowest scale. Anyways, by inclusion of the Civil War, the reformed United States government issued the Creek Treaty of 1866. The order made the slaves owned by Native Americans into freedmen, granting them mineral-rich land that held oil. So again, I showed you in the beginning of this bill tonight, Aboriginal Wall Street, the Baron of Black Wall Street, you know what I mean, O.W. Greeley, you know what I'm saying, and obviously I took you to Carolinas, you know what I'm saying, where these people also had their own Wall Street as well, they would call it, and then obviously we took you back and showed you how some of these people that migrated to that area would be under the five civilized tribes situation, and how some of them later to be labeled freedmen, and how some of them later to be massacred because of what's going on in Tulsa in that same Indian territory. So, wanted to point that out tonight, you know what I mean, dealing with American Freedmen Month, you know what I'm saying? This admixture of things that we're going to go into a little bit more. I know last week I said I had a toothache and I missed out on a couple of things. I'm slipping. I ain't slipping. I brought it this week. Carolina Genesis. You know what I mean? I'm going to read a little bit out of this. It's going to connect to that Carolina area since I did bring up, right, Carolina and Black Wall Street and all that stuff that was going on in that area. Well, Carolina Genesis, I'm telling you, you got to get this book. But first, we're going to pull up our guests and let's get to a good conversation. Again, I thank everybody tapping in with us tonight. Music Media Lounge, the Atomic Party. Baron P just walked in the door. Shout out to you. What they do. Pull up. Peace.
What up? Good evening.
Peace, man. What's going on? Thank y'all for joining us. What up, approved guy? Money Corner.
What's up, fam?
What's good, man? How's everyone?
Man, one day at a time, man. Just happy to be here. It's another Sunday night.
True.
Trying to see what we can get into. What's on whose mind first? Sab, I seen you did a video real quick on your YouTube recently. The topic that you were talking about. Do you mind going into that a little bit on your last video that you just did recently on your YouTube before I let Money Corner go? Because I've seen your joint that you flat. Can you tell me
I'll tell you the last couple topics. You tell me which one you were thinking about. The last few was I did an interview with a VP of a bank for SBA. That's about an hour interview. And then I did 0% promotion credit card funding. Then I did the truth about business credit. Oh, then I did the compound credit effect. What is infinite banking and what is velocity banking?
Velocity banking. That's what it is. But you can give me a couple of them real quick, a little summary real quick tonight if you don't mind. And then obviously plug in. Everybody go check out the YouTube channel, The Approved Guy. You did to get the full thing. But if you don't mind, give me a little bit of what you've been covering from the last time I seen you the last month. You know what I mean? Give me a little synopsis of what you got going on.
Yeah, man. Thank you. So that the interview with the SBA queen, She's the VP of a bank called Dogwood State Bank, and they service nationwide. I closed a loan with her last year for one of my clients in New York that had a home health care company that was expanding, and she needed about 1.6 million to restructure bad debt. She had about 6 or 7 merchant cash advances. She was paying about 500,000 a month in loan fees. We were able to save her, bring her down and refinance that debt into a 10-year term and get her in at 6% interest. So we're basically saving her about $25,000 a month that she was bleeding because of those loans. But that's an SBA loan. So I interviewed this lady, Denise Clements, about 10 months ago, and that's actually one of my top videos where we really get into how SBA works, the rules. It's really the first one is really a Q&A on what you need to qualify. So if you're really interested in SBA, you want to really hear it from from the mouth of a banker. That's what she does. That's what that video does. This recent video is more of a kind of reflection on a couple different loans that she's done, starting with the one that we closed together, just talking about different scenarios. And then there's a little bit of a Q&A. I was just trying to ask the questions that people want to hear as far as like certain industries and can you get funded, can you not, and what's acceptable, what's not. So if you're interested in SBA 7A 504 to expand or grow your business, or to start or launch your business, to restructure debt, to buy commercial property, check out those videos. And when you're ready, hit me up and I'm happy to help you. So that's that one. Then the next one, I was breaking down 0% promotion credit cards and how to leverage 0%. If you're starting a business or you're looking to expand and grow, how to leverage that 0% and how, what it takes to qualify to be able to get those promotions. Because the whole point is to get that 0%. So you don't pay any interest if you can. And then I did a video on the truth about business credit. I was pretty frustrated just, talking to so many people who are so confused about how business credit works, man, and it's just a lot of nonsense on the internet. There's a lot of good guys, good people teaching it, but I got a little frustrated just because every time I speak to somebody, I got to start from the beginning and clean up the mess of just the bad information that they got, or just maybe they're just misunderstanding and misinterpreting how things work. And so I just said, you know what, I'm gonna put this video out, the truth about business credit, and I'm not even going into it much further than just wanting to clarify the 3 types of funding that you can get access to, and where business credit's going to help you, and where it's not. Because you can get funding with business credit, but you're not going to get an SBA loan without your personal credit. You're not going to get small business credit cards, that are personally guaranteed with no collateral, no revenue in your business, no tax returns, nothing to show. And you expect that you're going to get that on your business credit, and you ain't got no business credit, but maybe 1 or 2 credit cards, and you think that you have business credit, and that's not real business credit. That's like very superficial. So that's, I'm just trying to, be very clear about what's available, because I don't want to people paying me fees for services thinking one thing, and I'm here, trying to guide them to, achieve a goal and a result, and we're just on, they're just confused and they thinking something else. And so I try very carefully to make sure people understand how things work. And so that's what that is, just kind of clarifying that. Then I got the compound credit effect.
Yeah, I want to hear about that one. That was one of the ones I really want to hear you go in on, if you don't mind.
Yeah, man. It's just, we what's compound? It means it's building on top, it's stacking up, right? So, I kind of came up with that compound credit effect is basically what happens when you leverage, that's the key word, leverage credit, and you are aggressive in how you use it and pay it back. So you're not using credit to pay for stuff that you can't afford. but you're leveraging credit to pay for stuff that you can afford. And then you're
Right.
immediately putting your money immediately paying off that debt. So you're not accruing any interest. But by doing that, you're going to gain access to rewards points, cash back, travel, and you're going to have a credit profile that banks and lenders love to see. And so what's going to happen is they're going to give you limit increases. They're going to offer you new promotional accounts, including 0% interest credit. So you can compound the accounts and you keep building. You can have, there's a limit, but some people can rack up to 100 different accounts, and you're just leveraging 0% over here, racking up cash back over here, getting your travel points over there, and none of it is debt. None of it is debt because you're not sitting on minimum monthly payments, paying off debt. You're just leveraging the card and the feature of the card as a way to velocitize and grow interest and to get money back and to get access to bigger and better credit. Hence, compound credit effect. It's an adverb. It's an action word.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. I like how you broke that down. I mean, you got that? You got that? You got that? You understand? I know Money Corner, and I know you got that Money Corner down there, right? I know you dig on all that right there. That's something you probably eat for breakfast every morning, this type of stuff. So
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Serial entrepreneur, you know what I'm saying? So yeah. So is there anything else before I slide to him and we go back and forth? I want to just kind of hit both of y'all real quick before we get into a conversation. Is there anything else you want to add to what you got going on?
Infinite banking, which is leveraging, again, it's just giving every dollar. It's velocity banking. It's giving every dollar you have before you put it back into the economy, before it leaves your economy. Give it at least 2 to 3 jobs. Multiply your money before you put it back into the economy. That's it. That's velocity banking. And then you can get creative and do it 1,000 different ways, depending on what you have access to. I mean, and what's really cool is now, even if you got bad credit, they got some fintechs that are coming out with these accounts that you don't even have to have good credit. You can just get a debit card. I'm about to put out a video this week as I'm going to do some reviews on some products. And one of them is a business debit card from a bank. It's called Lending Club. And they created a bank account called Nearside. If you go to theapprovedguy.com, I have a link there, and I do appreciate your support if you click that link, because it does give me an affiliate reward, so you help to support me. But you're going to get the benefit. Hey,
I know how you said it, though.
You're going to get the benefit, which is that this bank account, it's a business checking account, and the debit card gives you 2.2% cash back. So I just got this account about a month and a half ago, and at the end of the quarter for 2021, I had to pay a tax bill to the IRS. So I paid it, and I got $50 back in my account the next day, and I forgot about the 2.2% cash back. So I'm like, what is this? Why do I have a $50 credit? I literally got paid $50 to pay a bill. So it's a no-brainer. That's what you can get with credit cards. But they're trying to, get creative with the cards. And somebody asked me the other day, they said, why would banks do this? Why do banks give you 0%? Why are they giving you cash back and all this stuff? And the reason why, so people understand, there's something called the interchange. The interchange are the small fractional transactions that occur when you swipe a credit card, or you create when a merchant processing account processes a credit card. There are interchange fees. You don't pay for it. The merchant pays for it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And
I see you.
So the bank they're making money no matter what. Think about how many people are processing credit cards, and you got minor interchange fees that are fractions of points, right? They're making millions. So when they're charging interest on top, I mean, they're basically just, highway robbery. They're robbing us, blind. And then we take our money and we put it in the bank, and they take our money and they buy infinite banking policies with them, and then they take it out of the policy and they sell it back on the street. So be your own banker and start doing what the banks do with the infinite banking.
Bad money. I appreciate that, man. So hold on, just chill for a second. Let me slide to my man Money Corner real quick and see what we got on his mind on this Aboriginal Wall Street Sunday. What you got popping, man? What's on your mind? I know you said you've been up to things, and what you've been building on over here, man. Share some things with us. Let me get
I'm always building. Just to kind of piggyback on what Sebastian was just saying just now. There are opportunities for you to be able to kind of cheat the game a little bit. And I think that if you understand how to maneuver, like for instance, I was just talking to my man and I was telling him about how you can evade or avoid taxes and how much taxes you're going to pay once you become a business and all those kind of things. And it's really good for you because as you come from being on the consumer side to being a business side, you get to see how much money you're actually saving and you're putting back into your pocket. There are a lot of different ways, like, Sebastian's just naming them, different ways that you can maneuver, even just using your business. Once you get the business set up and be able to have access to a lot of different ways to get funding. I thought that was really cool. Like that kind of stuff, like when he was saying that decentralization is really opening the door to where you can be unbanked. So I want to kind of piggyback off that when he said being unbanked. Being unbanked means that you're really getting away from the traditional systems. The traditional systems keep you bankrupt. They do nothing to hedge against inflation, and they keep you in a box. Getting certain loans, especially if you're going through the centralized way and on a business tip, or if it's a personal tip, it's very outdated. Right now, we're in a new age where we actually create loans. They're over-collateralized loans. We're being able to take that money, go and buy tangible assets. We actually hold on to those assets. Nobody can ever take it from us because we've already purchased it. And then we don't have to worry about issues with paying stuff back. I'm not really worried about the interest rate because I'm going to pay it back. I'm over-collateralized. And then I'm unbanked. I didn't have to go through the underwriter. I didn't have to go through nobody to be able to see. They didn't have to get my ID and see that I was Black or I was Hispanic or I was Polynesian. It doesn't matter. Nobody knew anything about me. So there's no way that you can discriminate against me. And so being unbanked is where we're going right now. This is the new economy. The new economy is here, and either you get on board with it or you kind of just get lost in the past. And there are plenty of people who want to still go to traditional, the archaic the way of doing things. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what happens is that this makes way for everybody to get involved without having those same traditional mechanisms put in place where they have like filters. You can't get deep into the deep money because you don't have that profile. You don't know somebody. You're not rubbing elbows with somebody. In this case, if you got the collateral, you can get any loan you want. Nobody's even stopping you. And they'll even give you interest on that. They'll pay you interest while you're taking that out. So I've toyed around with that myself, and I've been successful with that. And I was just talking to one of my childhood friends about doing some business because he's been killing the Turo game. I was thinking about buying a slingshot, just to kind of segue a little bit. I was thinking about buying a slingshot. He brought a slingshot, and he's been renting it out with Turo, and he's been doing like $250 a day. So now ain't every day, but he definitely have it out on the weekend. And so before it got oversaturated, he was doing $500 a day on the joint. Now the thing only costs $20,000. So his bill every month, I think he paying like, I don't know, like really cheap. It's really cheap. It's like $300. But he was making $2,600 in the beginning, and he started grossing out a little bit more. See, being that you're going to control your own destiny, you're not getting an intermediary, the third party in. That's truly being unbanked. Like just to kind of elaborate on what Sebastian was saying, you got hypothecation or rehypothecation when a bank comes in and takes your funds and they loan you out X, Y, and Z, but you and I, they're paying us less than 20 basis points for your money sitting in the bank. So now if you're getting 0.20 and inflation is at 6 or 7%, you're losing 5% of your money. And then you couple that with the fact that you got a crazy or exorbitant interest rate, a high interest rate, that's going to stomp the shit out of you. You understand what I'm saying? So getting away from that and becoming unbanked is the way that everybody's going. Now, businesses are the first people that are going to take advantage of that. The consumer, on the consumer level, we're killing it, but now businesses are coming into that DeFi space. So they're saying, hey, look, I can hold Bitcoin, I can hold this cryptocurrency on my balance sheet, which most people are not going to be able to understand. That's why I like Michael Saylor of MicroStrategy, because he's teaching businesses. I signed up for it. I've been holding Bitcoin on my balance sheet since 2016 and being able to use that as leverage, not just for my business, but I'm setting it up, and now I can set up an IRA account. This is where we're going with this thing right now. This is the banks. That other old school stuff, that who cares? It's not even relevant right now at this point. It will be as far as if you want to utilize it, but the unbanked and you being able to be the custody of your own money, know how to move your money. The banks closed today, but I made trades today. I made trades. I made 2 G's off trades today but the banks was closed. The stock market was closed, but I made 2 G's off trades today. So it's a big difference in you saying, oh, I'm going to wait for the bank, or I'm going to wait for the underwriter and all these other people to get involved to approve you for something, when I can go right now and say, oh, okay, let me drop 2 Bitcoin in here and let me take out a loan for 50K, and nobody ain't have to know nothing about me. I've already signed up on the platform already, and we good to go. There's no underwriter or anything like that. And the thing is that if I do it right, they'll pay me an interest rate on them holding my money while I'm paying them back. That's DeFi. We can go to CeFi, and CeFi won't pay you that, but they'll pay you interest on the money that you're not using as collateral. So that's where we want to be at. This is where I was saying I'm going to draw the line between us being a product back in the day and not being a part of this economy as it started, to now we have an opportunity to be in the driver's seat and take full advantage. And there's a level playing field. Nobody's going to say, oh, I don't like you Asian, or you some other kind of shit. No, nobody going to say you're handicapped, you got one ear. Nobody can't say that shit. Nobody don't know what's going on. You've been married 3 times. You got too many kids. Oh, you don't make enough money a month. You got that collateral up to date? I'm going to give you a loan. Oh, you was a felon. You committed a robbery 10 years ago. Nobody asked none of those questions. You get your thing lickety split. You go to the traditional stuff, you're still dealing with the good old boys and their bullshit, where they decide that, no, I don't want to give you a loan. You don't qualify because of X, Y, and Z, and they make you jump through all these flaming hoops just to get a fucking dollar. And then you got to pay it back. And if you don't pay it back in time, you don't even own that asset. It's a tangible asset and you don't own it. They can still come take it from you. But in this world, you've already brought it with the cash. You gave them fiat cash already. You own that piece of real estate, or you own that building, or you own your house, whatever the case may be, or you own that car, that yacht. It's already yours. They can't come take it from you. You deal with traditional finance, they want to milk you along and charge you 15, 13%, 8%. Somebody got to get paid, and it's like 4 other people in line getting paid on top of you. Here, you don't get paid for that. It's all in line, and I love that because it puts you in the driver's seat. It keeps you in charge. That's where we're going. That's a new economy. Now, I just want to jump on that because Sebastian was saying that, and when he said unbanked, I was like, that's it right there. We definitely want to be unbanked. That's the only way we can move right now. Other than that, we're just kind of spinning our wheels. To go back into what I like to talk about on the Money Corner tip, we're talking about putting your money and having your money work for you. Right now, the only way you can get your money working for you is if you're going to invest it. So one thing I didn't never talk about, I always talk about crypto, I talk a little about real estate, is that this is what we've been doing, this kind of stuff right here. Plenty of this right here. I got them for days.
What is that right there? Hold on, tell people what you showed them real quick.
Straight silver joints. As you can see, this the Aztec joint with the crazy insignia on the back. This is what we've been doing. Straight bars of silver, stacking up the precious metals. Got so many stacks of these joints. Been killing it right now. This is what it is right here. This is just another way for your assets. Silver went up. Another thing is with silver too, solar is a big thing that we're popping. Everybody's going into green energy. One of the main components in solar is silver, and they need it. So you going to buy silver. It's GSB right now. Gold, silver, Bitcoin. That's what the deal is right now. If you're going to be trying to invest, those are the things that are going to keep you a hedge against inflation. Because if not, you're getting beat up. You're taking these loans out, and you got these installment loans. You're financing cars at 7, 8, 15%. And then inflation is knocking you down with 16 to 13%. So you add those things together, and then you put the taxes on it. That's why most people are struggling right now, and you're not able to keep your head above water because the wages have not caught up, or they're not commensurate with what the CPI is or what the cost of living is right now. It's just not balanced right now. So it's really hard to get ahead. So you want to make sure that you're investing. Now, like I always say, if you don't have your savings account up to date, and you don't have an emergency fund, do not invest. Get those things straight first, because that's what's going to allow you to be able to get a one-up. Other than that, you're really going to be wasting your time. You're going to get upset because you're going to put money in to take it back out. But precious metals, real estate, gold, silver, Bitcoin, that's where you want to be at as far as the ways that you can hedge against inflation, because inflation is a pickpocket. You're sleeping, it's stealing your money. You thought you were saving money. These cats are giving you 10 basis points, 20 basis points with inflation. Then on top of that, you're getting taxed. Your money is just flying out the door. And we're not paying attention to that because we're like, oh, it isn't a big deal. It is a big deal because things are costing more and more money and you're trying to build wealth. You can't build wealth when you have a pickpocket picking your pocket. So being able to invest in some of these precious metals, take some of your money, put it in something that's going to grow, has exponential growth with compounded interest. That's the way you want to go. And you also want to be unbanked. Unbanked is, that's why I love when Sebastian said that, because I was like, look, if you're not dabbling in that world right there, you're going to get swept behind and you're still going to be worrying about traditional shit and your money ain't going to be right. It just is what it is. There's too much money out here in the crypto space right now for you to be even fucking around with banks. It just makes no sense. They ain't paying you no money at all. I found a few business accounts that I give, like Blue Vine, give me 1%. But after $100,000, it drops down. So I'm getting 20% of my money. Right now I get 20%. I could throw $250,000 in something and get 20% and know I'm going to get $50K at the end of the year. I've already done it. That's the kind of stuff that you want to be on. With that 20%, 25%, I was showing you Midas. I made a video on my channel on YouTube on Midas. It's been doing pretty good. I am an affiliate with them. So I've been getting that percentage that's been coming off that. And then I got the Anchor protocol running for the 20%. Messing around with these banks and all this, trying to get this, and I got to get my credit, and they don't ask you nothing about your credit. That's the game right there. That's why that's old school. Nobody ain't worrying about that shit, man. Only people worried about that shit is people who are uneducated, who haven't educated themselves, and they're a little bit primitive, and they're trying to catch on, and they're going through the traditional channels in order to get this information. And those people are saying, yeah, you got to do this. I'm going to send you my underwriter. You got to fill out this application. I get your social security number. No, you don't. I deal with people that do it all day. I do it all day. That's where you want to be at. Everything else is just a waste of time, but they keep you there. But it's just like the bank. You could say at one point when I was first getting my financial literacy, I was looking for high yield savings accounts. I was looking for any way you find that I can get at least a point or 60 basis points. I was running to them. And I didn't know. I was ignorant because I didn't understand there was another world out here where the new economy is that I can do that. Also, too, it was a little bit of risk because I didn't understand that. I had to understand the risk that was involved. And a lot of times I was like, oh, I don't want to deal with it. But the bottom line of it is that it was beneficial for me because I don't have to have somebody checking my credit, even though my credit is immaculate. Having somebody checking my credit and deciding that they want to give me a loan or not, or they look at the color of my skin, or they look at my height, or they look at where I live at, or anything, or what kind of money I make every month. Those things are not factors. You have to deal up with that when you go deal up with these other people. And that's where we're moving into this new economy. And my people need to get on this because we've been a people that's been we've been the people that's been deprived, or we've been the people that's been marginalized from these systems that have been put in place that keeps you from redlining on down, that keeps you from being able to get access to wealth. Right now, the best way, like Kiyosaki says, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the best way to get rich is using other people's money. If you have restrictions that are put in place, or guidelines put in place because of some white supremacy systematic bullshit, and it's keeping you from being able to build wealth like it did was homesteading, buying houses, then that means that we're going to have this crazy wealth gap that we have right now because we've been trying and we've been doing a thing. You just talked about Black Wall Street. No matter what we built up, it was destroyed and we got right back up and built it up again. So it's not like nobody's sitting around here in victimhood. Everybody trying to get everything together so it can be sharp. And that's what we've been doing. But now we need to have an opportunity, and opportunity is there. This is a level playing field. Nobody got a head start on you. You didn't start off in the fields doing anything like that. You can start off doing anything you want to. You can go create a coin if you want to. You can go create a DeFi app. You can make a DApp if you want to. You can decide that you want to make a DAO, like we were saying, decentralized autonomous organization. You can decide you want to do that, which is taking the place of the ICOs. You can decide you want to be in the NFT game. You can go hop back into CeFi. There's so many opportunities there. It's ripe. But if you're not understanding that and you're caught in the traditional thing, you're going to be left behind. And that's the new economy right now. And you want to be into the new economy because the old thing wasn't built for you. Old thing have those kind of, They have those things that are built into it that doesn't allow you to get up to the top floor. And I ain't saying just because you black, you ain't gonna be able to do that. You can do that. But the thing of it is that you have to leave that up to somebody else's discretion. It's at their discretion if they decide that you're going to do X, Y, and Z. When this right here, this is a protocol. It's an algorithm. It says you put enough collateral in there, you get X, Y, and Z out. And that's exactly what you want. This way, nobody ain't judging you. This is where we got to get our thinking at, because this is where we can get a one-up and be able to bridge that gap. So the next generation, within a few generations, we're there. It's too much, man, it's too much money out there. The yield is crazy. I mean, it's really, really crazy. You go to sleep and like, okay, within a week, I'm going to make $2,000 or $3,000 a week in interest. It just doesn't make sense. You won't need no loan. I don't need no loan. I fund my own thing. What am I going to get loan for? The only time I get loan is other people's money if the interest rate is cheap. So like if you go somewhere like before, now right now, we're going to go through crazy times right now, because the rate's going to go up. We're looking at, I think we should be going up. We're getting 3 or 4 rate hikes this year. That's why stocks is down. Everything's funky right now, because we're going to get this rate hike. Feds are starting to taper. They're buying less bonds. And now you have that. You have that kind of vibe right now, where the dollar is starting to weaken. Inflation is going up. So they got to raise its interest rates so they can strengthen the dollar. So if you strengthen the dollar, that balances things out. And then prices eventually will start to stabilize. They won't necessarily come down. They'll just stabilize. Wages have been going up. The numbers for unemployment came out and they were pretty low. So that was good, but there's still a lot of people who are not working by choice. So now we have an opportunity. The opportunity is right. The crisis with 19 has set the precedent for us to be able to have this time where we can start to study and start to get a one-up. That's what it's been. Everybody's been studying getting a one-up. And I've been talking to people who've been in this whole thing and been locked down for the last 24 months. They come out a lot wiser. This new economy is brewing, and it's time to hop in 2 feet first and be able to get a part of it. Because if not, you're going to get swept behind and you'll be, oh man, look at all these millionaires. I'm telling you, in another 10 years, everybody going to be a millionaire. Who cares? It's going to be real simple if inflation keeps going the way it's going. But if it don't and it equalize, you can't get into that millionaire spot if you don't understand the game and you're not really truly investing. It's too much. It's not, I can't say it's free money, because you got to know what you're doing. But stable coin, instead of putting $100,000 in the bank, take that and go put it in a stable coin, and you can get a minimum of 12% of your money. 12% of your money. That means that you're getting 12 G's at the end of the year. That's $1,000 a month passive income. You ain't do shit for it. People, I'm gonna get a second job. To do what? To make 500 and have these people tax the shit out of you and inflation taking most of it? Are you that silly and dumb? You don't understand how the game works? If you get an extra $1,000, they tax you, they take 35%, you're getting hit across the head. Let's think about it. Let's do the math. You made 1,000, they took 35% of that. So you really made $750 or $650. I'm sorry, you made $650. Then inflation came and baptized the shit out of you, and it took another $40 out of you. So now you're looking at, you went and did all that work for $600 bucks, but you thought you was getting a G. But you could have put that same money into a system, and that's right there, and it's trusted and it's been working, that can give you a certain return, and you don't have to be worrying about that. And that's where the real money is. I'm gonna say this right here. Don't go out and make money if you don't know what the fuck to do with it. Don't go out and make it. You don't know what it is, get a financial literacy. Everything else is just you blowing a lot of hot air, and you still got to pay your rent. You still got to eat your food and feed your family. So all other stuff you're talking, that needs to be secondary. Financial literacy is primary business, because it's going to allow you to move forward. I can be in a lot of situations because I have a financial literacy, and I can come out winning. I can duplicate my efforts. It's not something where it's like it's a gambler's thing and I'm just tossing it out there and seeing how it works. This is a strategy that I do, and this is why I'm paying it back. I'm paying it forward, and I'm making most of my relationships equitable by being able to teach people. See, when I'm teaching people, it's an old saying. They say it's lonely at the top, right? But it's not lonely at the top if you bring people along with you. So if I'm bringing people along with me and I'm giving you that education, I'm giving you the business, you should be able to come along with me if you're smart enough. And that's what I want. It's only a good vibe for me if, in fact, everybody around me eating good and we doing good together, and that's what it's all about. And that's why I bring this information out to my people, my cousin, first of all, and then anybody else who's listening, because you're getting something different than what you hear in the news. And most people have their angle, and their angle is just on, they just want to push their agenda and talk about, it's all about me. This is all about us and we need to be able to get on the right page. There's an opportunity here, and I think we kind of sleeping on it. And a certain aspect of it is victim mode, and get out of the victim mode. There's nothing wrong with calling what it is and being realistic in what we're dealing with, but you got to get out of a little bit of the victim mode, relieve some of the baggage, and kind of time to set up shop. You understand what I'm saying? And that's what we need this time for.
Hold on real quick. I like you said that. Sad, what you before I go to Tino, who just came on stage, because I know he's gonna tap into that DeFi and all that in a minute too. He is obviously with the social club, and he talks about a lot of this stuff, crypto. Crypto Fred couldn't make it tonight, so I got Tino tapping in. But real quick, Sad, what you thought about what he just said?
I vote for him. Yes.
You vote. You vote. You vote.
Yes.
You vote for Money
Yes,
Corner.
I endorse that. You got my vote, Master Ether. As a matter of fact, I wanted to ask you if you could, if we could like hook up, man. I maybe want to interview you on my channel. If
Sure.
you're down for that. Yeah,
I'm down for that. Definitely. That sounds great.
Are you familiar with I Trust Capital?
I am. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the only site of its kind, or is there others like it?
There's another one I just found the other day that's doing the IRA. I can't remember the name of it right now, but they're setting up the IRA for the crypto. I just found it just the other day. Really, really sharp. I wasn't really looking into those kind of things because once again, you're looking at something where it's a government product. You know, when you deal with the IRA, you deal with the 401k, SEP, all those kind of things. You're waiting until basically you're 59 and a half. If you do it before then, you get penalized. So I didn't necessarily want to do that. I understand how to do some other ways to kind of tote it on my balance sheet. And then at the same time, I use that because sometimes I may use it back into my business. But for the most part, I've been using it to pay myself and then reinvest. So it's a little thin line because the regulations haven't really come out and there's no real true tax code around that. They can tell you what's a taxable event, but they can't really tell you if in fact you have what your tax obligation is going to be because you did X, Y, and Z. So that's kind of like what I've been doing. I've been doing it since 2016. But so I've had really too much issues with that. But I like that because I think that it's something that once crypto does get heavily regulated, we start getting regulations, it'll be an easy way for you to be able to have everything done without having to worry about if you're, within a tax code, you don't have the IRS breaking down your door. And they make it really easy. One of my guys I follow, Cryptos R Us, George, he's an affiliate for I Trust Capital. So that's how I know about them.
Are you familiar with infinite banking?
No, I'm not.
I'm gonna break it down real quick, and let's because I haven't seen, I don't know as of yet like how this could like be a part of a strategy. I mean, I know how it could be a part of a strategy, but in relation to, what you're talking about, right, in the DeFi side. So, or on the crypto and DeFi side. So, infinite banking is a way of leveraging a whole life insurance policy, a high cash value life insurance policy, where you allocate between 80 to 90% of the premium towards the cash value.
This is a whole life.
Whole life.
Okay.
But this only works with like the 2 or 3 top mutual carriers, like Guardian and Mass Mutual.
Mass Mutual.
Yeah. So what happens is when you do this, you get a guaranteed compound interest between 3.5 to 4% on the money inside the policy, plus dividends, which historically are around 6%, and it's been pretty consistent. That's not guaranteed, but that's pretty much what you see over the last 100 years. But now, of course, it is a life insurance policy, so that's going to secure a death benefit, potentially. Let's just use $100,000 as an example. That might secure $1 million death benefit, maybe, right? And then, of course, the money, the $100,000 is in the policy, compounding interest, 3.5 to 4% guaranteed plus dividends, right? Now, typically and traditionally with life insurance policies, the way the life insurance agent write these policies is they allocate 80 to 90% of your premium towards the death benefit. And the reason they do it that way is because that's how, if you're a life insurance agent, that's how you get paid. You get paid on the portion of the premium that goes to the death benefit. So you might be teaching this stuff, but if you're not really being a fiduciary for your client, you're really just being your own fiduciary, then you're going to you're going to design the policy where it's going to favor your pocket, and it's not going to give your client the max liquidity, the cash access, right? Because what happens is the insurance carrier, it will issue you a policy loan within 10 to 30 days of putting in that money, based on that cash value. So let's say it's a 80%, let's say 90, right? Give or take. Let's say it's a 90% cash value on 100,000. So 90,000 is immediately available, where the insurance carrier will issue you a policy loan separate from the 100,000 inside the policy. So your money stays inside the policy, compounding interest, death benefit, and any money inside of that growth inside the policy is tax-free growth, by the way. Okay. And it's off hands from any litigation. So nobody can sue your life insurance, not even a bankruptcy, IRA, IRS, nobody could come after the money, the liquid inside the policy. It's protected, it's safe. All right. So the money's protected, it's safe. You're getting the compound interest growth. You got the death benefit. And now you're going to be able to get that policy loan separate from the policy. So the policy remains intact, doing exactly what it's doing. And now you got a loan from the policy based on that cash value. Pretty much usually get a 90, you get 95% of that available cash value. So on that 100,000, if we allocated 90% of it towards the cash value and 10% towards the death benefit, then you have 90,000 cash that you could borrow from, and you could get 95% of that. Now, the policy loan does has the option to be paid back, but it doesn't have to be paid back. So if you pay it back, then what happens is it goes back to the policy, and it works like a line of credit. You can just keep using it, right? But if you don't pay it back, then they basically collateralize the death benefit for that loan. So versus having $1 million death disbursement, you would have let's say $850,000 death disbursement, which is still 800 times more than your original, or what's that? 8 times more than your original deposit of 100,000, right? Plus your money was compounding, plus it was protected, and you were still able to use it. It's a liquid. You have that money. Now, once you get it out of the policy, you can do whatever you want. You can use it to do whatever you want. You can buy real estate, Turo, crypto, whatever you want. But what you're doing is you're just putting it into that policy first, letting it sit, grow, marinate, and then you have that cash access. And then, of course, if you pay it back, you can just continue to. Now, in some cases, if you don't pay it back, it'll still start to build up cash access over time, where you can still go back and borrow again from the new available cash value in the policy. But this is called infinite banking. And the reason they call it infinite banking is because you can use it infinite ways. You can do whatever you want with it as far as how you're going to use it. No credit check. You set the payment terms. If you want to pay $1, if you want to pay $100, or if you don't even want to pay it back, like I said, they'll get the policy loan back from the death benefit. So it's just another mechanism that can be used as a financial strategy to protect assets, liquidity, tax-free growth, and still put that money to work in the real system.
Real quick. I'm sorry, real quick, before I know that we can get that's Tino, you've been sitting here for a minute, man. I just want to shout you out for coming on stage tonight and vibing with us, on the show. What you hear about everything you've been hearing, and what you also been building on with us, Crypto Fred, obviously too, on this crypto thing. You just heard both of them kind of. You obviously met both. I know you've met Approved Guy before, but what do you think about everything you heard about with the situation?
Man, bombs. A whole lot of bombs, man. A whole lot of truth. Strategies, you know what I'm saying? Like, it is a new frontier. And I like what the brother said, Master Eat the Peace, bro. Yeah, what you said about, it's gonna be a whole bunch of billionaires. That's a fact, you know what I'm saying? And I think for me, I'd be interested to say, like, okay, billionaire in what? Because we got so many new assets to be holding on to outside of the US dollar. So it's tough times make strong men era that we in right now, where if you applying yourself, you'll find your wealth. You feel me? So depending on Um, Me, I'm what you call a DG in the Web3 space or NFTs, blockchain, metaverse. I'm all in. Like I have no interest in any government subsidized anything. You know what I'm saying, or any government taxation. Maybe outside of, I just don't feel like being bothered with that little part. But um, for me, it's all about finding strategies where we can leverage all these new assets and new currencies to kind of step outside of this matrix of the currency that we've been dealing with now, where we've been gate kept out of being able to profit as most as we can, or as much as we can, off of our input in things. And I think that in the interest of keeping currency pure, you know what I'm saying, the essence of it, and that being return for energy output, the U.S. dollar just ain't the medium to capitalize on that. So between the infinite banking strategy, which is something I had heard before, so that was a good breakdown. I appreciate that, bro. Um, and different concepts like I heard you speaking on the crypto IRA. I personally, like I said, IRA, I'm automatically like, eh. But it's something to consider for people who may not be ready to jump off that cliff. And I think that no matter what, finding your strategy and finding your comfortability with how you're going to build your wealth is mandatory because, truth be told, I think that if you can't or if you don't take advantage of this time now, I had to bet it's not going to be a good look for those who sit back and watch everybody else do their thing because, um, it is an even playing field. And that means, for us individually, for us collectively as a people in any jurisdiction, uh, for any nations or countries or governments, we're all looking at this like, oh, this is brand new, and it's a matter of, our curate or how our minds are curated around these things. I always say that people say get money, but you got to remember the U.S. dollar ain't the only money, and that's before crypto. Pesos or lira, whatever the case may be. You have to expand your concept of what money is. Assets and these things that add to your worth. So I think it is whether you're putting your pinky toe in or you deep diving, it's kind of mandatory to get involved in these things.
I appreciate that, man, and I appreciate you coming on tonight. Obviously, being a feature for the conversation of social club. We talk about these things, and obviously our guest every first of the month, approved guy and Money Corner, and obviously you and crypto. Obviously, talk about a lot of NFTs. So I want to kind of ask each one of y'all about the situation with the NFT and how you seen the market go down with the crypto, and what you think is going to happen when it's going to rise. What's the effects? What you guys think about that, real quick? So Tino, since you're already on the stage first, can you go ahead and give me your thoughts on those things? Crypto first, as far as why it went down so much. You think from last year to now, and then how some people scrambling like, oh my God, all social media. What do you think about that? I'm gonna let you go first, and then I go to Money Corner, then Proof Guy.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's a lot of things going on. In the holiday season, you usually find things going down, so that's not really out of the norm. I think there's a lot of countries kind of going back and forth about their regulations around these things. So people's faith in where how much these things will actually be able to be used is kind of being tested right now. So that's what I would attribute the bear market to. Um, but this is what I meant by saying like it's about how our minds are curated around these things because one Ethereum is one Ethereum. If it's it being worth however many dollars is really just in relation to the money that we deal with now. It's a way for me to communicate the value to you. You know what I'm saying? But for those of us that's deep in that side, we are in the middle of watching a market develop where, I might be able to say, yo, I'll pay one ETH for that, but one ETH for this other thing, that's too much. And we're finding the value, in what a person would consider too much or too little. So what do I think is going to happen with NFTs and in that space? Every single day, we say NFT time move 3 times speed. So every day is new concepts, new businesses, new products, based on NFTs. And I think that the creators that are on that side and taking advantage and doing this building, um, it's really kind of on us to bring value to the currency, and I think that's definitely been happening, whether it's a DAO, a DApp, just DeFi systems altogether, whatever the case is. Um, I don't think that the intrinsic value of NFTs can be removed. I think that it's pretty evident that, blockchain technology and NFTs as a marker of a product is here to stay, at least for some amount of time. You know what I mean? So with that, then I think how many people really know about NFTs? You know what I'm saying? And as much as we can chat it up about it, I could turn to 50 people outside my door, and they gonna not only would they not know what I'm talking about, they probably ain't interested. You know what I'm saying? If it ain't about a dollar, it don't make no sense. But it's about some
Real
ETH,
talk.
though. You feel me? So, with that being at play in the market, it's like we got a long way to go to keep expanding to get people to get it. And then we can say, that wasn't what we thought it was going to be. So it's going to go up at least based on that. You know what I'm saying? And this could come down to even, at my barber shop, my barber was like, yo, how can I use NFTs cutting hair? You know what I'm saying? So you got to look at how regular this can really get. You know what I'm saying? You might got the NFT at your barber shop and, you get 3 free designs a month or whatever, so, it's so much to
There's
still
so
be
much like
expanded
this
on.
going on, right?
You know what I mean?
It is.
It's so much
Wild,
room
wild
before
west.
we hit the roof that it's no way that we won't be seeing more bull market. That's my opinion on that.
Okay, bet. Let me pull up Money Corner real quick. Again, thank you, Tino, for joining us tonight and filling in for the social club vibe of this conversation. Money Corner,
Yes, sir.
what you think about the market going down? 'Cause I know you've been in this game for a minute. So when it comes to the market with the crypto, like, how did you feel when you seen it dip? Like, what would you, and then how do you know what I mean? Give me your synopsis on that part. Just the whole feeling of it, what you see other people saying and stuff.
Yeah, sure. I've been here and I've survived crypto winter. So crypto winter was basically from late 2016 to 2018. 2019 was we just trying to get right. We also seen some highs during that time, but that was crypto winter. So I survived crypto winter, and I have what we call in the community called diamond hands. So I hodl. I've been holding it for years. I even told you I lost a Bitcoin in a wallet and recovered it, and it was like over
I remember.
$20,000, and that was 2 years ago when the pandemic first started. Something I had got paid on. There's a lot of things. We had China during the pandemic kick out all the crypto miners. When they kicked all the crypto miners out and they had to relocate, and that killed Bitcoin's hash rate. Hash rate has something to do with energy and output. So if you kill my hash rate, that means that it's less transactions that I can compute. And that means overall the congestion and network will be slow, may even be a higher fees, and it's going to be less nodes on the network. The less nodes on the network, that means that's going to be less people to talk to, and it means it's going to create overall congestion. So that's one thing, the hash rate. And then we can take into consideration that during that same time, there was a lot of FUD that was in the air from like Elon Musk. Elon Musk got out there and said, oh, Bitcoin is not green enough. I want to see it switch from proof of work over to the proof of stake. We don't want to go to proof of stake because that would kill decentralization, and it'll also too make it less secure because proof of work is a lot more secure. So we had that issue too, and there's a lot of FUD that was created around that. Now you take that and you couple that with the new variant with the Omicron crisis as that came out. So now you're thinking about lower hash rate. You got people painting FUD who are big time people in crypto. And then you have this upset with this Omicron, this uncertainty. Once we got that uncertainty, what happened is that You understand? Like, I'm not much of a TNA man. TNA means technical analysis. I can read charts, but I don't use that to form out my decisions all the time. I like sentiment. The sentiment out there, once we got Omicron, we get uncertainty. People say, oh man, I don't know what's going on. And they start to get a little scared. Now, that happened and Bitcoin was still strong. I put a video up on my channel and I talked about being strong, ignore the FUD. FUD is an acronym for fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So ignore the FUD and let's keep our head in the game because Bitcoin is still strong. So now what happened right after that? What do we get right after that? The Fed say, oh man, I don't know. I may taper and I may start cutting off the money supply. And remember, big money, the big whales who got all the money, they say, okay, well, I'm gonna start pulling my money out of certain things. The first thing they pulled money out was tech. So you have the Dow, you have the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ is heavy in the tech. Mostly all your tech from Microsoft, the Tesla, all of them, they're all a part of NASDAQ. The NASDAQ took a nasty hit because most people pull their money out of tech because they're saying, hey, look, tech borrows a lot of money. The Fed's going to taper and they're not going to be buying as many bonds and not much QE or quantitative easing. So they're going to cut down on that. So that means that the rates are going to go up. Tech survives by borrowing money from banks to do research and development. So if the money supply is going to go up, it's going to be more expensive to borrow this money. That means that tech is going to take a hit and it's not going to be able to get as much funding. And that means that things may slow down. So big whales and people, hedge fund managers, they say, oh man, let's suck that money out. And they took the money out of the NASDAQ. Some of it just trickling back in. Now, Bitcoin at the time seemed like it was correlated to the NASDAQ in the stock market. Now it's funny because in the last 2-3 weeks, it's decoupled. So we've seen a decoupling from Bitcoin, which is basically a technology and a software, decouple from the NASDAQ and decouple from the stock market and kind of go its own way. And that's what it was for anyway, because it's a store of value with the scarcity and it being a finite instrument that it's going to be able to fight inflation and be a hedge against inflation with a store of value. Now, that's what we wanted to use it as, and everything was going very well until we got all those things that I just put together, all those factors, you add them up together, and that's what created this storm we're in right now. And there's still a lot of uncertainty because the Feds are going to pump up rates, and I'll tell you, they're going to raise rates 3 times this year. So, before I think it was, and Sebastian knows about this, when they say that it is prime plus 1. So now you're looking at, they just raised rates a quarter. And after that, we're looking at, they want to raise rates by 2.35 by the end of the year. That's scary for a lot of people. So we're not there yet, but that's creating a lot of uncertainty. And what you have is even people like me, I don't know where to put my money. I'm trying to find somewhere to put my money. The stock market falling from the sky. And if you was in tech or anything, because I like growth stocks, because I'm not an old man, so I don't need to be in a lot of long-term plays. So I'm more in growth stocks for me, and my growth stocks are taking a smack because of what's going on with the Feds and them tapering. So now if I look at that and I look at all the things that are there, the fundamentals are still there for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And that's why I'm still there with that. And I've been able to get my gains. Even though the market been down, I'm still in the green because I've been here hodling, holding on for dear life since 2016. So that's a long time to be holding on and surviving through crypto winter. Now, to kind of touch into the NFTs, a lot of people, when you first get into it, if you don't peel back the layers, you think that an NFT is just some digital art and it's a picture and that's what it is. And then you have to look at, for instance, BMW wanted to stop forgery and they teamed up with VeChain. VeChain is one of the top 25 coins. It used to be in the top 10. And VeChain allows you to be able to authenticate whatever product you have and put it on the blockchain so it becomes immutable and it's not changeable. So BMW partnered up with them. So I'll give you another example. That's an NFT actually, because it's allowing you to authenticate. All an NFT does is saying, hey, look, I'm making sure that this is an authentic copy or whatever's been issued by this person is authentic. It comes with a certification and then it's added to the blockchain. See, over here now we have a problem with the Chinese especially. They manufacture every single thing under the sun illegally. They got a copy of everything. You got a Gucci, they got a Gucci. You got a Louis, they got a Louis. what they do, and they're really good at, they send in a lot of illegal wine, a lot of liquor. They make millions of dollars off selling fake liquor. You would think it's some real Henny or something, and it's not. It's some bullshit they made over there, and they do whatever.
Yeah.
So LVMH, what's this? Louis Vuitton, Moet, Hennessy. That's all one company.
Yeah, the brand. Yeah, one company.
Right. They partnered up with VeChain, and a lot of other companies have partnered up with them as well to be able to make sure. Matter of fact, I don't know if they partnered up, but I know that the Australian chain partnered up with them and said that they're using their services. So now all their wine comes with the NFT on it. It's NFTized. So now it's added to the blockchain. So now every single wine is authentic. So when you get it, the distributor sends it over to you. I get it in my stores, retail, and I start to scan it. If it don't scan in, that means it's illegal and somebody else gave me that shit. And it's the same thing that goes with art. Like I was telling you about Mr. Wonderful off the Shark Tank. He's NFTized and he likes watches. You know, watches be costing some big bank. So he'll take like $150,000 watch and he'll take pictures of it and he'll show you all the certifications, everything, the inside of it, the whole nine. And then when he sells you that watch, it comes with that NFT to make sure it's authentic. If you don't get the NFT, it ain't authentic. You see what I'm saying? That's what they're doing with art and all that kind of shit. So most people, you got to understand that if you get the concept, then you can use it to monetize it. You can start to use it and understand and come up with concepts of your own. If you just think about it as a consumer, you just say, oh man, it's pictures. People trading pictures. They just taking pictures, anything. And it's not, there's a lot deeper than that. And if you understand the true concept of it, remember that things have to have a utility. You want to solve a problem. If you solve a problem, you bring a solution, people pay you for it. And it's something that's needed. You want to add to society. You don't want to take away from society, right? So you want to add to society. You want to bring value, and those things that you could bring value. So I just want to kind of elaborate on that because I was just explaining to my man and them what an NFT was, and I was showing them BMW and all these other people that's linked up, and he was like, "Damn, I didn't even know that even exists. I thought it was just, you know." And I was like, "Damn, we need to get some pictures." Everybody just trying to get pictures and make little stupid 8-bit images that look all wonky. And then you understand the concept. When you do look at some of those digital images, they're part of a whole community. Because you own that particular NFT, because you pay some serious bank for it, you got access to all kind of stuff. They be getting free concert tickets. They be doing this, and that. Because of that, they be giving you airdrops with tokens and coins because you own the NFT. It's a whole community. Like, for instance, I'm going to say this real quick. There are places in Asia right now, Asian countries, where there's like, it take like maybe like $1.64. That's what they live off a day. If they get $1.64 a day, they golden, right? They can play a game, a play to earn game, which gives them NFTs in the form of a token that they can sell on any exchange. It's about the exchanges they have over there. And they was making $4 or $5 a day. So they was making 4 or 5 times the daily average for of living per day. The government shut down the internet because nobody was going to work. Everybody was sitting at home playing video games. You can look that up. You understand what I'm saying? It sounds weird, but what's happening is that
like that movie. It sounds like that movie.
There's nobody needs to go to work. Hear me again. Nobody needs to go to work. There's a certain thing with service. If we was practicing Ubuntu and we were all actually giving service to the community, nobody needs to go to work, dude. All these jobs is just bullshitty, superficial bullshit. You know, most people go to school, and remember, I used to work at a school, I worked at university for 10 years. They'll tell you, they'll say, hey, look, this is how many jobs are in that profession. And you got to move to Alaska, all kind of places to be able to take advantage of the opportunity. And there'd be 185,000 people who graduated in that field, and there's only 50,000 jobs. There's not enough jobs for your particular thing. There's only so many jobs for specialized skill. Other than that, normal shit, you don't need that. Robotics, AI, and machine learning is taking all that away right now. From ticket sellers, like another thing, I'll give you an example. NFTs with Ticketmaster. There's no more scalping. All they getting in line. Everybody's doing NFTs. So now, if that thing don't come up on the blockchain when you scan it, then I mean that's some bullshitty ticket. You can't get in.
That's real. Because it's like it gives it value on the blockchain, and also a person can go back 30 years from now and say, hey, I got this ticket for when I went to go see whoever. and I
Right.
paid this much money for it to make it authentic, like how a Michael Jordan card would be if it's his rookie year. You got the original one, and you got the picture of it to prove I got it from then now.
Yep.
Same thing. I get it. So I'm gonna go on to Sab because I got some things going on. I want to make sure I cover everybody.
Hey, do your thing,
Sab,
man.
yeah, thank you for that breakdown, though. That was a great breakdown. Sab, what you think about this whole market and from the going up and down and the crypto and now the NFTs and the DeFi? It's 22. It's Aboriginal Wall Street. I want to hear your perspective.
I'm gonna be honest and just am I speaking?
Yeah, you're here. I hear you.
Okay, my bad. Yeah, man, I'm listening to Master Ether and Tino, and I'm learning. There's certain things that I'm good at and I have the knowledge and expertise at, and I'm learning crypto and I'm learning NFTs and I'm learning this stuff, so for me this is excellent. I got notes, I'm taking notes.
That's what we want people to do, though. Hey, it's on you to take
so,
it, though. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. We all supposed to be taking notes. You can watch this
man. So that's all I got to say. I got educated and I appreciate it.
I appreciate you for tapping in. You educate us too, my bro, because the other thing you put on too, and even though I look at Master Ether and what he kicks with getting outside the system, you were definitely giving people that are still in the system on them levels of education about financial literacy or just the basic things of banking, credit, how to leverage your credit, how to get leverage your debt. So those things are still needed too, because if you don't understand those things as well, you definitely can get lost in the sauce going into the world of what Money Corner's talking about. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to make it seem like it's just that simplified that we don't need that information. Still, with us still having to gauge what Master Ether's where he's at, and also what you're educating people at or where they're coming from, who are just starting to open up businesses as well. You know what I'm saying? So I think all pieces are needed in the conversation of an Aboriginal Wall Street, because you got people at different levels on the finance understanding, comprehension, literacy game. It's different levels to this. You know what I mean? People still working jobs, people owning businesses, you know what I mean? People doing both, side hustles, trying to invest their money, stocks. And I appreciate you either way for saying what you're saying and being honest, because we all grow, we all learn, we all good at certain things. I know I'm learning from all of y'all talk. I'll be letting y'all talk. You be real talk. Let y'all ride.
I do want to get feedback on the from Matt, Master Ether and Tino on implementing or using that strategy, the infinite banking, in conjunction with whatever other business or whatever other strategies. Like, how do you see that? Because I'm trying to figure out figure out all of it. I want to be innovative and come up with solutions.
Yeah, the thing with, I was always under the impression, I did some homework, because it's funny, just the other day I went and I brought a life insurance policy. And I was looking at whole life and those kind of things. And then from my understanding, it seemed like the whole life was, high net worth individuals benefited much more from the whole life, because they were being able to kind of create a little bit of a tax haven, tax shelter for their money, and allow their money to grow and still being a tap in it, so it has some liquidity there. But at the same time, they wouldn't have to worry about the penalties of all the taxes that they would pay. They can be able to grow some money and get a way better interest rate than the regular bank would give you. It still does not hedge against inflation. So inflation is still going to kind of make you still be in the negative there. If they're giving you anything that's under 7%, you're still battling inflation. So it still doesn't hedge inflation. So that's why I would have some worries at. And then, like, well, most people, as I don't even know people, like my mother just had one, and at the end, her premium was increasing because my grandmother, she's getting older, and the premium was kind of increasing. I understand that you're talking about this for a business, but whole life is whole life. As the premium increased, her value was going down, and she didn't have much value in there. So another thing is that if the whole life has a lot of, I'm not really that well versed in it, but I do know that it can't mess with inflation. It's not a hedge against inflation. And one of the other things that kind of concern me about the whole life is that you pay this premium, and the premium's definitely, you're not locked in with that particular premium. And it's a possibility when you pay it up, and I've looked it up before, that when you finish getting to the point that they got the maturity date, it's not even any value left in it. and there was no borrowing that even took place. So I'm kind of weary of that, and I think that that works better for high net worth individuals. And I think that that product is really good if, in fact, you're a person that has, man, I got a lot of money. Like you got serious bank, you're at least a multimillionaire, and you just want to stuff a little money to the side. But if you know what's going on right out here, right now, you know that inflation is at a minimum of 7%. It's actually up to 13%, depending on what tax bracket you're in and how you're living. You're at 7%. So if you're getting 4 to 5 of your money, you're still at a deficit. You're losing 3% each year. And you're throwing away money. That's why money in a saving account doesn't work. You'll be better off putting that in maybe just from, I don't say real estate because I'm not a real proponent of real estate, but you can put that into maybe some land down to just like I told you before, stable coins and different ways that you can make the interest off the stable coins and the whole lending protocol. I would rather go with that and assure that I'm going to get that return. And even if I had to pay taxes on it, who cared? Or even rinse it through because I got a business, because you know how that goes, before I kind of get that locked in there. And I have ultimate liquidity because I don't have to wait for a bank to open or anything. I can do it on a Sunday afternoon. I can do it from somewhere in Tahiti sitting on the beach. I don't have to have all these intermediaries involved. And that's what I like about it. But I think that that's a good option when you're a high net worth individual and inflation is low, because inflation is not going to always be this high. As they start to taper and the interest rates go up, you're going to see inflation get a lot lower. And in this way, what you're starting to save, you'll keep more than what you're saving. You'll keep more of what you're saving, and you wouldn't pay as much when you go out to buy things. Because right now, your gasoline and all that kind of shit, you're paying through the nose right now. It's a lot of money you're paying. Another thing you have to understand, just real quick, the consumer price index, when they give you those numbers and they say, okay, we're good to go because the consumer price index, the price of living is commensurate with inflation, they don't take into consideration groceries and gas. So that's one thing you have to have. And you use gas and you definitely use groceries. And they don't take it into consideration when they're discussing inflation. So that's why the inflation rate is a lot higher than what they state, because they're not factoring in those two things. And you as a person, you have to factor that in, because everything you put your money in, like I tell Mac, you financing a car, they charging you 7%. You paying 7% on that money, and then you also getting the man taxing you 25%, and you're paying 7% on that with taxes. That's all on that when you first got that car. It's too expensive to live if your wages can't keep up with that. You add that 7% to another 7% inflation, you're at 14 to 15% of whatever you take in after taxes is what you're going to be able to spend. That's what you're going to be left to spend. So, just kind of like a little, I kind of went off on a little while.
That's a fact.
But that's how you have to look at those things. And that's how I look at that when I look at some of those whole life. Because I looked at that and I was like, dang, you put 100K, put 200 and just see what happens. But I was like, that's such a janky, such a little bullshitty interest rate. It's like you playing with me, because that doesn't even doesn't hedge against inflation. And then this is the thing. There's no true appreciation if I don't add to the policy by paying my premium. So like with Bitcoin or another investment, I'm getting the appreciation. And if I'm staking it or putting it in a DeFi play or something like that, I'm getting the appreciation, and I'm also getting interest as a dividend or reward for staking the coin along with depreciation. Of course, it can depreciate too, but the same thing with those whole life insurance policies. Let me ask you, Sebastian, what happens with the whole life insurance policy that it has no value at the end of the policy? How does that happen? With no borrowing, you didn't take out any loans, anything.
That's just because it was written improperly. The design of the policy was not done properly. There's the right way to design it, the way I'm describing it, is where basically you set a minimum premium. Let's keep it simple and just say the minimum premium monthly was going to be $100. And then you add a rider, which is called a paid up addition rider, which lets you add up to another $400, right? Okay. So basically your obligation is $100, but you can pay up to a total of $500, and that $400, that's cash value that you now have access to, right? So if you're going to leverage this properly, it has to be designed properly, and that's the problem, that most people don't know how to design them properly, and therefore it only appears like it makes sense only for, like you said, high net worth individuals. But one of the things I'm trying to help people do is to own their own debt. And so instead of paying the interest to the banks and the lenders, they could transfer the debt to the policy, right? Because the thing about the policy that makes it so cool is that you're talking about 85 to 90% liquidity that you have, and there's an interest on the loan. It's typically between 4 to 6% on the loan that the carrier gives you. So then you're getting about 4 to 6% with dividends on your compound interest. But now think about it. You're putting in a 500. And this is only if you're borrowing out the max, right? And that's also what I try to teach people: don't borrow the max. You're gonna play with 80, not 90. Like, you can borrow 90, but don't do that. Only play with 80. Why? Because then if you miss a premium or you can't pay that, the policy will pay for itself. And so when you look at the design of the policy, if it's structured properly, whether you pay back the loan or you don't pay back the loan, or if you pay back only the interest on the loan that's on the policy, right? Then when you look at the numbers over the years, it's going to grow. The cash value just consistently grows. And then on top of that, the death benefit consistently grows too. It has to be designed properly. So that's a problem. And unfortunately, if you're not using the right carrier, if you're not using, like, these two companies are the main ones, Guardian or Mass, then the carrier doesn't even let you design it this way. You can't even do what I'm telling you, what I'm describing to you. And the point of it is not to really use it as an investment strategy per se, but as your own bank, as your own. So as a banking mechanism where you move your money in and out of that policy, so that you're giving that dollar 3 or 4 jobs. The death benefit, the compound interest guarantees, dividends, and the fact that it's tax free growth inside, and death benefit is also tax free as well. So the thing about life insurance is that there's always that death benefit, right? So if it's done properly, that death benefit could be something that you're again thinking about, not just our generation, but the generational after and the generation after. So if you can set up a policy that's going to leave 100 times as much of money that you could have earned on your own effort, right? Then ultimately it's generational wealth that you wouldn't have produced with your own hands, but that policy gave you the vehicle to do that, to leave it. So that's how I see it. But again, the main thing is just the carrier and the design of the policy. If it's done the way I'm telling you, when you look at the numbers over the next 15 to 50 years, it's not going to happen. And there's something called a MEC limit, which is where if you overpay into the policy, then it becomes a modified endowment contract, and it converts from a life insurance into this contract, which everything becomes taxable at that point. And so you don't want to do that. That's where you overfund it. So that's why you want to set it up where you have that minimum, and then with that paid up additional rider, then you can fund it. You can max fund it and always stay underneath that MEC limit, and then basically just use it as a banking mechanism that you're using. And that's the key, is that you have the liquidity. So you're not keeping the money in there as its own investment vehicle. You're just getting the benefits that are there, but you're actually doing it so that you could get the money out and then go ahead and multiply it elsewhere. Sure. If we could play, I could play, we could play with some designs. Me and you could hook up and go on a Zoom, and we could throw in some designs, and you can see like what happens. It's pretty cool because I can just literally change the numbers, and then you'll see everything change, like completely change. And if you take out a loan and you don't pay it back, or if you take it out, and that's the thing that also that's pretty cool, because so like I was saying, like if you're going to transfer the debt that you owe, if somebody has debt, right, a car loan, whatever, you could do that in one lump sum by building up a value in the policy over time, or you can do it incrementally, where you're going to, the money that you would have paid that car, instead of just paying the car, you put it in the policy, borrow it from the policy, pay the car. Now you owe the policy, so you just transfer the debt from the car, from the bank to the policy, right? But remember, the thing is that you don't technically have to pay back the loan. That's what makes this crazy, is because you actually technically don't have to pay back the loan. So now, if you don't pay back the loan, like I said, they're going to just get that loan back from the death benefit. And that's again, I mean, you do want, in my opinion, I'm not advocating not paying it back, but if you don't, because if you do, then it's better. Then the policy grows much stronger, and you then have a line of credit that you're working with, that you're playing with. And then there's actually some lenders, because the policy loans are, like I said, between 4 to 6. I know 1 or 2 lenders that will use the cash value as the basis for the loan. They'll give you 90% of the cash value. Again, no credit check. It's not traditional, conventional. And then they use a death benefit as the collateral, right? And so they'll do the same thing that the carrier would do, but instead they don't issue the loan to you personally. They issue it to your business, and they give you the loan. The interest rate on that one is usually around 3 to 3.5% on a line of credit in the business name. And so now you have that money in the business. Of course, now that's all tax free because it's a loan. So you're actually using the money tax free while it's growing in the policy. So it's pretty sick if it's designed properly. So, I mean, the main thing is just that design and having it done properly. And the problem in the industry is that you got, whole life guys that are, they ride or die for whole life, and they're anti anything else like index universal life. And then you got index universal life guys that are anti whole life. And it's like, they're at opposing ends. I think they're all of value. It's just a matter of what's your goal, what's your strategy. Is it to be liquid now, or is it because you want to be liquid later, like in your senior years, when it's time you want to retire, you want to receive income from your policy when you retire between the age of 65 to whatever, you know what I'm saying? And then the other thing with these policies is that you could throw on long-term care riders in the event that you become sick or disabled, or you need in-home health care, because life health insurance and Medicaid that doesn't cover that. So a lot of seniors, when they get old, they're using their savings to pay for these things, and it's expensive. That medical care when you're older, and my grandmother, she got sold the buy term and invest the rest idea, and then she ended up having to reverse mortgage her property just so she could live, right? So now she's when she's gone now, what is she leaving me except a tax liability on the reverse mortgage and nothing. But had she structured that design properly, not fudging with that buy term invest the rest concept, right? She could have had something in place that would have left a legacy. You know what I'm saying? And again, I don't advocate this as like your only strategy by any means, but I think it's definitely something that should be seriously looked at as a part of your portfolio and your strategy. And like I said, I'd love to just show you some designs just so you see like how the numbers play, and change what you've seen, because 9 times out of 10 it's just either the agent doesn't know, they don't know better, and they're just doing what they were taught, or they do know better and they're looking out for themselves and they're not really being a fiduciary.
All right, real quick too, because
okay,
a couple minutes after Martino, I want you to say what you want to say real quick. Go ahead. No, I was gonna come to you next. What you think about everything you heard as a result and the questions you throwing around just now, off what you as a guest tonight.
Man, I think that infinite banking is amazing. I mean, and I'm like you, I'm learning from you right now. So, I'm not gonna act like I'm well versed or nothing like that. But the way you break it down, I completely get what you're saying. And the way I come at it, it's like you turning yourself into your bank. It's an investment in yourself. So this is even more incentive to have intrinsic value in yourself. In knowing what the markets are doing right now. So, for example, taking that 95% liquidity, right? Because that's what we need right now. You need to be able to move here or move there. You don't want to be stagnant or stuck in anything. And so having that liquidity, it's like you can create these hedges for yourselves. You can create, businesses that to Master Ether point, it's like the guys out in the Philippines. or Brazil who are playing these NFT games where, and this is just for an example for your question about, how can we combine these things? Because we're here with the dollar consistently, and we have access to things like that, you can literally fund some of them guys, and this is already going on. You could fund some of them guys to play those video games to make that money to buy their first house. You know what I'm saying? So not only is that a way for you to get at that profit margin, which is 5x, right over there, but it's also a way for you to build these global relationships. And I think for me, in the crypto and NFT space, it's that's what I like about it, is that the market is international. You know what I'm saying? So you're not bound to this jurisdiction of debt exchange. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm creating wealth for families elsewhere. You know what I'm saying? And this is a way for me to be able to touch down, maybe kick up my feet in Brazil. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, hey, yo, I hook them people up. This is a good thing. I might need some land out here. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got some good, and this is a way to start to create real wealth and opportunity. So to me, when I'm hearing you speak on it, it is like the definition of investment in self. It could be as much of a downfall for somebody, to your point, about how it's designed, which you probably gonna have to design mine, because I don't want to get caught up in okay, I need that A1 design, because having it right, it's like you can literally build out whatever future you see. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to, like you said, you don't have to pay it back. And it makes sense to me in a human way, where it's like, you can set up accountability for yourself, but only you can uphold that. You know what I'm saying? And there's a benefit in keeping yourself accountable to yourself. You know what I'm saying? So that's reflective in what you're saying.
Right.
So, I think that this is a way to get people to be more upright about their business, as opposed to saying, I'm going to take 95% liquidity and I'm going to listen to the guy on Instagram who say, hey, yo, you want a Ferrari? Click here, click the ad. See, that's the bait and switch, where it's like you're so thirsty to gain monetary value that you're not seeing the intrinsic value in these things that you're putting your money in. And for me, I don't necessarily feel as bad, because it's like, you could be 10x in the hole or 10x up, depending on how you do your quality research on these things. And that's what I think, that people want to bypass that and just get money, but they don't really have a comprehension of these concepts. So to your point, it's all debt allocation. That's all a dollar is anyway. So if
Right.
all I'm doing is moving money left and right, you know what I'm saying? And I don't have to pay this car. The car, done, paid for. I might pay for half the car, right? So that way I can take advantage of the fact that I don't have to pay this loan back, and I can still add to it, and leverage it out how I want to. So to me, that's amazing, because it's literally a self investment. You know what I'm saying? And this is not a matter of somebody hyping you into it. It's like however that plays out, it'll be completely because of you. So even things like investing in precious metals, that's more incentive to have a business, to have gold that is in that logo and things of the sort. So this is, again, you have the liquid to go do that. Gang needs precious metals, get them what do you call it when they appraised, you know what I'm saying? And then add that as an asset. So automatically, not only are you adding assets, but you adding hedge to these cryptos and things like that, where, I could step out anywhere and say, yo, melt this down. You know what I'm saying? For me, I can't imagine that that's going anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Even on the level of just conductivity of gold, let alone the fact that people like shiny things. and that's, I think, to me, is a market that people, not just a shiny thing point, but things that people like. That's really what the NFT space, a lot of it is. You know what I'm saying? And I think that we, in a commercial sense, in a capitalistic sense, we kind of do away with what people like for what the algorithm says, what the numbers say, and this and that. But to Master Ethan's point again, sentiment. You know what I'm saying? If people just like that thing, and I got the liquid to be like, yo, I'll provide that. You know what I'm saying? So even things like and again, to your initial question about the relationship between infinite banking and Web3, right? I'm gonna switch into the metaverse, where you might not be as well versed on the metaverse, but you know something going on. You might say, "Hey, yo, people are advertising the metaverse, dude. It's nothing to buy you a little bit of land for little to nothing, and sell out billboards. That's an easy business. You know what I'm saying? And just let people do their advertisement on your digital land. And when you're
Facts.
leveraging, you know what I'm saying? When you're leveraging yourself as a bank to do it, this becomes less about what you have liquid and more about your ability to keep up with your accounting, to keep your balance sheet straight, which whether you an individual or you are a nation or a corporation, whatever the case may be, everybody's playing the balance sheet game. So, creating or leveraging
That's
yourself
a fact.
to open up liquid on your balance sheet and then taking advantage of your network is your net worth. You know what I'm saying? Seeing the value in people and uh, expanding past the point of saying, "Oh, these items, this is the trend," materially to how can I invest in people? Because there's so much room for growth in what people understand, not only in literacy, but what people see in as valuable. Having that liquid on hand, I think, is actually the problem for a lot of people who maybe do have the conception of what's worth something, but they're still stuck in the rut of getting the US dollar, which has been, sanctioned basically. Like it's set up for you to only be able to get so much unless you really in it like that. So to just automatically be like, yo, I'm even if it was 50,000, you know what I'm saying? If you can pull that out of yourself and play with that and you know what to do with it, in investment in the stock market and things of the sort, I tell you 15% is a great year. We should crack a bottle, you know what I'm saying? Clean, right? But what am I gonna do with $150 off my 1,000? That's not gonna cut it. However, you know what I'm saying? Web3,
That's
make
real.
your 15% in a week. You know what I'm saying? And that was a year's worth. Let them tell it. You know what I'm saying? So now you really just doing your thing. So I think to me, it's
Right. Matter
about
of fact,
again that frontier and that liquidity, that relationship alone is going to create maximum wealth for anybody who's taking their time and do their due diligence.
Yeah, man, that's dope.
and Tino, man, I appreciate you for kicking that, man. That was a good breakdown from your perspective, and I think the fact that how you tap in, you be in all those rooms where they be talking about NFTs on Twitter Spaces and all that all these different people. You put us on to that notorious frog that came up. You know what I'm saying? And how people now are building that meta. You know what I mean? Certain little tips. I'm learning stuff. I'm moving on things slowly but surely. Between you, Money Corner, and Crypto Fred, I be talking to when it comes to these things. I'm learned a lot. You know what I mean? In the last year between Money Corner, Crypto Fred, and you talking on Clubhouse and y'all behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? And you too, Sab. But the approved guy give me a lot of information on different things and being disciplined about building the business and business credit too. See, that's why I feel like all the pieces are needed on the chessboard when you're trying to make something happen. Because everybody's at different places. So you got to get all the information dealing with financial literacy because everybody's at different levels of it. And that's why I appreciate y'all for tapping in with me tonight. Um, I got to go into some information, you know what I mean? But I want to just shout out to all y'all before we go into it for coming on here tonight with us. And
Thank you.
I'm gonna see y'all, on the first of the month. You know what I mean? Is there anything I want to say for y'all slide before I go into this information?
Do y'all have channels? I heard you say you had a channel, Master Ether.
Oh yeah, Money Corner. Shout out
Passive income for
your
life.
YouTube.
Passive income for life.
Passive
Passive
income for life.
income for life.
I'll
That's
put the
right.
link in. I'll put the link in here. Only thing I wanted to say is that you got to have investments. So I know that he was saying it's funny because Sebastian said something that I was going to ask him. That's where you know that you're deep in the game because you answer people's questions before they get a chance to ask them. And he has said that because I was I had took a course of Prime America and they were saying that you do the term life insurance and you invest the rest. The problem of what most people issue is that they don't invest the rest. So like they'll take a term life. I got a term life and I got it for like 20, 30 years, but they don't invest the rest. So that's what the problem is. They don't have a real good strategy to invest the rest, and they don't know how to hedge against inflation. So they think they're investing, but then they don't understand why they haven't built this wealth up. And it's because, you don't understand how to a true hedge of inflation and where you need to put your money at. That old school 2.0 was a different thing. Now, Web 2, I'm going to say this real quick. I'm just trying to run down real quick. Web 1 is we get on there static. I start talking to you and I post something on the page. And if you happen to come back to that page, you could talk back to me. And then days later, I may get it and come back and talk to you. Web 2.0 is where we are right now. I can interact with you. I could DM you. I can send you an instant message. We can email back and forth. It comes in within a few seconds. That's how we talk and we communicate back and forth. But with Web 2.0, we're the product. So, like I said, that's why I'm fuck with Facebook and all those other places, because you're the product. They should be paying you, but they're making boatloads of money, billions and trillions off you as a data prospect. So I don't deal up with them, but that's what Web 2.0 is that you don't have any control over that. That's why me as a business owner online with e-commerce, I had to get the GDPR, which is this data thing about years ago, where they wanted to make sure that you were telling people that, hey, there's a possibility. I have your data. I may sell your data. I have to tell you what I'm going to do with your data. That's Web 2.0. That's where we are right now. Now, the other gentleman, Tino, I think his name was, he hinted on this a little bit. Web 3.0 is that I'm no longer the product. No matter where I drop, I'm like a snail. Wherever I leave my trail, I'm able to monetize that. If you want to use anything that has to do anything with me, everything is linked in with me in my profile. If you want to use anything that has to do with me, I'm going to be able to get a cut of that. And that's where we're going right now. Even with artists owning the masters, you'll be able to own yourself. So like, you know how we talk about the straw man, when we talk about the UCC and all that kind of stuff and secured debt. Now, you're going to be an avatar. That avatar is akin, or you can liken that to having a straw man. That's what's going to go on. Now, if you link Web 3.0 with Metaverse, that avatar is the same avatar or the same avatars that you use that represents you in all these different metaverses that you can travel to. But mainly it represents you in your virtual identity that you have online, that you're going to now be able to mark, and it's like a stamp. You came in somewhere, somebody had to do something. Okay, they had to pay some BAT tokens, or they had to pay X, Y, and Z in order to deal with you or use some of your proprietary information. Intellectual property will be so much easier to monetize. And so that's what we're kind of going into. And that's where you got to get your brain into. That's why I say, like, a lot of the old school, the older guys, they're real hard. They don't understand. They can't conceptualize how we're going into this virtual and this augmented reality on Web 3.0. They don't understand how this thing works in the whole metaverse. And those are the ones going to be swept behind, because this is where we're going now. This is borderless and it's limitless. You see how Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is borderless? I can transact anytime I want to with anybody. Nobody asks nobody permission, and I have to go through anybody. And then with Metaverse, I can be able to take my gun from a game and go over here. I can be able to say, I'm going to travel for this. Me and Max say, hey, man, I want to see Kid Cudi or somebody like that. I want to see Anderson .Paak. And we go to a concert online and we go hang out with our avatars. Now, while we're there, we could be selling some of our stuff and say, you know what? We brought a vendor's booth in the place where Anderson .Paak is at, and we selling our material, and people want to have the Autonomous Party t-shirt on while they hanging out doing whatever, because the shit is ill. That's where we at right now. So if you get your mind wrapped around that, you're going to be into an economy that supports you, and you don't have to go out here and work for somebody and deal with it. That's why I say right now, nobody shouldn't even have to be working. Next 10, 15 years, if you own your game, you shouldn't be working for nobody. You yourself is the brand. That's what I close with.
Real talk. Appreciate you for tapping in too, man. See you next month. You know what it is, first Sunday, Aboriginal Wall Street. These type of conversations we'll be having. And I thank everybody for tapping in with us for this type of information. And definitely tap into the Money Corner. Say the YouTube you're doing right now, Passive Income for Life, right? .com? Or just YouTube?
Passive Income for Life. You can catch me on Facebook. I got Passive Income for Life on there, and I also got it on YouTube.
Okay.
I'll paste it in the chat here so you can be able to check out the channel. I got it right here. So, you know, I'm dropping videos. What I do is I don't just drop videos every day, because I study the market and I study what's going on, so I can kind of bring you the best options for passive income. Right now, I've been rocking with Midas and it's a few other
Word
things.
talk.
Check my videos, and that's where it's at, man. Getting the passive income. You ain't got to work for it. It's peanuts out here. Grab them.
Well, I just subscribed.
Can you turn this off for me?
Appreciate that.
Bet. I'm gonna subscribe as soon as I get off this bad boy right now. So yeah, Sap, Money Corner, approved guy. Check them both out. We'll definitely be tapping in with you guys soon because I appreciate y'all for coming on here every week, every once a month for us. That what we're doing now, the Aboriginal Wall Street, about what y'all are pushing forward. I think y'all pushing the culture forward by giving this information out. And both of your YouTube pages are very important to the community for people to get in contact with this type of information and somebody that's really experienced it, gone through it, and vetted it, and not just talking about it from a leisure standpoint like they don't know nothing about it and or done anything in it and tell you the good and bad with it too. That's a part of the Wall Street game, the boiler room. You know what I mean? Shit goes down, stock market go down, everything go down, things go up, things go up. We all go up and down. You know what I mean? Life is like what it is. Thank y'all for tapping in with me, man. We're gonna go into something real quick. I gotta switch over. We're gonna play a quick song before we go into the next segment, this last part before we get out of here tonight. And again, thank y'all for joining us tonight. God, I'll be right back. We'll be right back. Yep. Can you hear me? Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. We good? Mic check. Mic check. We good? I bet. iPad, other one had died, about to die on me. I had to switch out and put the Twitter campaign joint up. Shout out to Twitter campaign. You know, me support Mac 8th again. You know, shout out to Twitter campaign that powered this thing. Shout out to Baron P. You know what I mean? Because if you don't have these backups, I'll be messed up right now. Yeah. So out again, it's Aboriginal Wall Street. You know, we do this every first Sunday of the month. So tap in with us every first Sunday. Out of the 4 Sundays that we get in a month, and we're gonna be covering a lot of information. And we're gonna be setting up some other things too, dealing with financial literacy and group economics. Tap in. Shout out to Social Club, Thomas Party, our Social Club members. You know, again, we do got some event, our first meet and greet coming up right here in South Florida. You know what I mean? February 25th to the 27th. So I'm gonna give a shout out for those that's coming in town. You know what I mean? It's real things popping around here, real talk. At the same time, though, we're gonna go into from last week. You know, like I said, I had a toothache, so I couldn't. I missed this book right here that I'm gonna show you guys right here. Make sure I get the right angle. There you go. This right here is a good book to get people. You know, I was talking about it earlier, and you know, we've been covering again this month. That everybody, you know, obviously gave us the shortest days in the month, but it might be the most correct. Some people might say 28 days. But in the 28 days that they allotted for us to go over the celebration of many things that our people of our color have accomplished, you know what I'm saying? A lot of them outside of what happened in Oklahoma, Tulsa, or before that time frame, you know, don't get hit like we do now recently, but throughout the time frame of my generation, we didn't get given a lot of information that we're learning nowadays. So I want to pull up something though, because I would in the beginning of the show before we brought on our guest tonight, we did go over that word, you know, freedmen and a time frame dealing with Black Wall Street and the 5 civilized tribes and the people they, you know, changed their status from, you know, being a part of the 5 civilized tribes to being considered slaves of the tribes. And then also because of the time frame, you get this word freedman being a Choctaw freedman, for instance, or a Chickasaw freedman. But even before you had that group of people of the 5 civilized tribes being called Chickasaw, Choctaw, Cherokee, you know, Creek or Muskogee, you know, Seminole freedmen, especially the Seminoles, because of the Seminoles, this word freedmen, these people were free before this term was being applied to them. You know, and people always go into, is this word freedman and what happened to the word free? Because, you know, my people weren't enslaved and stuff like that. We get that. That's not what we're applying that people going through, even though, you know, the system, you know, you people didn't run to the system might have just fell on you. You know what I mean? That's what they say about Plymouth Rock, right? You ain't go to Plymouth Rock landed on you. Malcolm X said that, right? Well, the manumission system, you might not have traveled on the, you know what I mean, or became enslaved that way, but the manumission system hits you somehow or another. You see what I'm saying, God? Can I get that this thing I found interesting because we were talking about the freedmen, right? Freedmen and freedmen. You know what I mean? And this is Sunday. This is not church, but still, it's this still, you know, because of what they're talking about here. I thought it was a very good article to pull up, and it has some scriptures written in it too, to coordinate to what they're talking about, dealing with the word freedman and free man. So I want to make sure I cover that before, because we are in, you know, we call it a series that we're doing outside of the next couple of things we got going on in the American Freedman Month coin thing, but it's Aboriginal American Month too. You know what I mean? Shout out to everybody celebrating that as well. This freedman, freed with the D, and then free man. It says, during Roman rule, one who was emancipated from slavery was called a freedman, whereas a freeman was free from birth, possessing full citizenship rights, as did the Apostle Paul. Acts 22 through 28. Colon, did I say that right? Colon 28, right? 22, 28 in your Bible, Acts, right? Okay, so now it says former emancipation granted the freedmen
They're using the word emancipation here. Formal emancipation granted the freedmen Roman citizenship. So we're not talking about America right now, right? We were just talking about the freedmen in Wall Street and all that time, right? Now we're talking about freedmen way before America even had any of this going on. Once again, just tell people dealing with this system, we're going to be talking about emancipation and manumission. Emancipation and manumission. But such former slave was not eligible for political office, although his descendants were. In the second or at least the third generation, informal emancipation, however, gave merely practical freedom to the individual, not civic rights. Now, does not sound like what some of our people were doing in the 60s. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X again, you know what I mean? Telling us about the Plymouth Rock landing on us and people that were, all the things, you know, Malcolm X did say, you is an Aborigine, but you don't like to be called an Aborigine, you know, during that time frame too, you know. I mean, it was a lot, I mean, Martin Luther King did go represent some dark-skinned Native people out of Alabama, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that was being discriminated dealing with the bus system. So, I mean, we're dealing with some things at the time, right? Anyways, since the freedman was viewed as belonging to the family of his former master, a mutual obligation rested upon the two parties. The freedman either remained in the home and in the employ of his former master, or received a farm and a capital to get started in making his own living. The patron buried his freedman when deceased in the family tomb, took charge of any surviving minor children, and inherited. Can you move up for me, God? The property if there was no heirs. On the other hand, if the patron suffered the financial reverses, and his freedman was required by law to care for him. But the rights of a former master in relation to his freedman could not be passed on to his heirs. It has been suggested that those who belong to the synagogue of the freedmen, literally libertines, were Jews who had been taken captive by the Romans and then later were emancipated. Another view is that these persons were freed slaves who had become Jewish proselytes. That's how I say it, right? Proselytes. See, you're gonna let me go on that one. All right. So the reading in the Armenian version presents these persons as Libyans. That is a person from Libya. And then it says Acts 6:9. We can go move up a little bit more. We're going through this whole little script right here. So just give, we're gonna give you a little extra on this one right here now tonight. It's as indicated by the scriptures. Although a Christian may be a slave to an earthly master, he is actually Christ's freedman, liberated from bondage to sin and death, but having been brought with a price, Jesus' precious blood. A Christian who is a free man in physical sense is a slave of God and of Jesus Christ, obligated to obey their commands. This indicates that for humans, freedom is always relative, never absolute. Therefore, from God's viewpoint in the Christian congregation, there is no difference between a slave and a free man without the D. Moreover, freedom possessed by a Christian does not entitle him to use this as a blind for badness. Well, you're trying to tell a Christian that you can't be free, but you're still a slave. But don't be mad and do nothing crazy now that you know this. Don't be blind mad about this now. This is what the system's telling you. Either way, this is the way Christianity had this system set up again before. Can we get to the next joint with the, let me see which one it is. Dealing with these freedmen. In this manumission system beyond the Roman system, because we've gone over in the last series of the Ethnogenesis, last week, dealing with the manumission system beyond it, you know what I mean? And we dealt with the Roman part, but obviously we know we just read the Bible, and everybody that talks about the Old Testament, New Testament, and people debate about the New Testament. We don't deal with the New Testament, we deal with the Old Testament, all that good stuff. And you got the Hebrews, you got the Muslims saying we don't do this now. We don't. Well, guess what? The manumission system is going to be connected to all of these groups. That one. Yes, sir. So we want to make sure that people understand this manumission system is not biased. You know what I mean? Just like it wasn't biased to us in the time frame of during emancipation. If you was a Negro or mulatto or an Indian at the time, you was grouped together as people, free people of color or freed people of color. We should put you in the freed man status after emancipation. Or you were considered a refugee and later you just assimilated somehow, however time frame goes. No, that last one I think was the better one. Yeah, the Jubilee joint. So, I think that's what we want to kind of just make clear then with the manumission system, because we ain't biased. You know what I mean? About, because in this situation, anybody can get it. You know what I'm saying? They're not being biased in the system. This is not a situation like what happened to Whoopi. Whoopi not being biased. I don't think she was either, but that's just my opinion. But hey, you get, when you deal with certain things, you know how that goes. But either way, the manumission of slaves in Jubilee and Sabbath years, Michael A. Harbin. All right, so it says summary, just to give you a summary, because I can't read the whole thing, but we just read you the top. You can go look them up. You know what I mean? This document right here lets you know. It says the debt in the Old Testament economy. So we're dealing with the Old Testament first, was problematic. And our understanding of it is even more problematic, especially with respect to debt slavery. It suggests that several common misunderstandings have contributed greatly to the problem. First, the Hebrew word ibid can be translated servant or slave. In the later case, it can denote both debt slave and a chattel slave. In many cases, there is a failure to make these distinctions. Second, there is a tendency to categorize all debt in the same, regardless of the size. Third, the misunderstanding of the purpose of the Jubilee has led to confusion regarding its role with respect to slavery and the manumission of slaves. Specifically, while the Sabbath year guidelines included debt slavery, the Jubilee, by its nature, did not involve slavery at all, because the land sale was really a land lease. There was no debt involved, and the Israelite who sold his land was not enslaved. It is then suggested that one option for the Israelite who bought the land was to employ the seller to work the land as a hired hand, which would explain the admonition that he was not to be viewed as a slave. So in the introduction, it says in this top part, kind of interesting here. The issue of slavery in the Old Testament is complex. While slavery was at least condoned, various passages addressing servitude in general, especially with respect to individuals' release from servitude, seem contradictory. That this leads to complicated explanations as commentators struggle with different biblical texts that discuss the matter. For example, Cucci translates the last phrase of Leviticus 25:39, which addresses one aspect of the Israelite servitude, as you shall not make him serve as a slave. He then makes this puzzling comment: by definition, this Israelite becomes a slave, but the Lord sternly rules that such a person should not be treated as ordinary slave. In similar manner, Rooker asserts that while the slave had the option of agreeing to stay with his master after 6 years of enslavement, in Jubilee, even the slave is set free. If Jubilee immediately followed the Sabbath year as traditionally understood, this seems not only to contradict the Sabbath manumission laws, but defeats the purpose of the continued service provision. As a result, commentators struggle to explain how these fit together. I'm gonna stop right there. We want to go into the next one because we ain't got much time. We actually look it over. But I want to get these last couple links in because again, like I said, I'm trying to make a full happen last week. Yeah, that one right there. I'm gonna get that one. I want to pull up the next song. I want you to know we a little bit beyond. Manumission go beyond just the Roman situation, but the Roman situation, the fight between Rome and Jew situation, that time frame of that old antiquity time they talk about, Roman Empire and all that good stuff, right? It's a system. It's a manumission system. So, and at the top, I don't want to, crazy. We're not biased here. See, it said, blonde, tall, with honey-colored eyes. Jewish ownership of slaves in the Ottoman Empire. Hey, I'm just reading what they put up. You see me? But at the end of the day, it's slavery in the Ottoman Empire. This article, you know what I mean? Literally, how many pages is this? Yeah, 9. It's about 9 pages here. Or is it? Yeah. Is it how many pages? 9 pages. So this is just another link that has this, manumission in it, and it talks about, Jewish men, slaves, in different situations that go beyond the time frame of, you know, the Roman time, and how they were dealing with how they emancipated people that were considered in debt or chattel property or female bondage or whatever the case might be. They had a system. So the system's not something new. You know what I mean? And literally, I think it's just to give an example here. It's the Hebrew sources dozens. I'm at the top of the right hand side. Hebrew sources dozens of official ordinances documents produced by the Shahara courts, and the reports of European travelers. Slaveholding was also common among Jews in Muslim lands. The ownership of women in particular was widespread in the Jewish households in the Ottoman Empire on the threshold of the modern era. It was certainly far more common than in Jewish communities in North Africa or Europe. What we know about this practice may now be considerably enlarged thanks to the discovery of about 100 as yet unknown documents from the 17th century court registers of Haskoy, one of the quarters of Istanbul. These documents, especially as well as we will now study them along known rabbinic sources, provide information that both supports existing data and permits asking new questions. So they're finding out new stuff still, pulling up from that time frame of the systems, of slavery amongst other people. And in this document, though, literally, because we don't got that much time to go all through it, all of it. But you probably could type in, you see right there in the bold letters, just to stand out, blonde, tall, with honey-colored eyes, Jewish ownership of slaves in the Ottoman Empire. If you're interested into that, you can Google that. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to hit this book up, and we're going to get out of here. I'm gonna hit this book up. I'm gonna get out of here because last week again I missed this part. The Carolina Genesis once again. Yeah. And if I would have this source to put up and pull up, I would let you see it from that angle. But I'm gonna let you know what page it is. I'm gonna read from 138. It says Morris County, Goins family, and what came afterwards. This is life in Cumberland County, North Carolina. Because we just got to talking about earlier again. Shout out to Carolina, that area. And they were talking about the Black Wall Street and everything. This is a prominent insurance, banks, churches, all that popping, right? So this is interesting too. This was going into the 18th century. So life in Cumberland County, North Carolina, during the late 1700s and early 1800s was challenging for all persons of color. In Parker's history of the county, he writes, children of mixed parents were apprenticed, that's manumission, to white families, and there were court fights to prevent such children from being kept as slaves. Racial tensions escalated. In 1785, free blacks had to wear distinctive shoulder badges with the word free written on them, and their actions were monitored. In 1805, a Patrol Act was enacted to watch the activities of free persons of color. And in 1826, an ordinance was passed regulating both slave and free black conduct. The ordinance decreed that no slave or free Negro shall smoke a pipe or cigar in public, or walk with a cane, or stick or club, or no whipping or hollering would be permitted by persons of color. After the Nat Turner Revolt of 1831, Southern plantation owners feared further uprisings and bloodshed. Swift actions in the form of new laws were taken against free blacks as well as slaves. Prior to this event, free blacks enjoyed the rights to vote, provided they met certain property ownership qualifications. In the wake of the revolt, the North Carolina Convention decided this nation is a nation of white people. Its offices, honors, dignities, and privileges are alone open to and to be enjoyed by white people, and the blacks lack intelligence and moral character. Therefore, no free Negro, no free mulatto, or free person of mixed blood shall vote. Later, free blacks were also deprived of the rights to bear arms without a license or to serve in a militia. Life was about to get much worse in the Goins. And that Goins family is spelled Goingis, also Goyens or Goins family of Pocket Creek, North Carolina. In 1836, William Goings Sr. forfeited his land due to non-payment to taxes. Manumission. Taking place in that same area that was with the Wall Street and all that going on, right? It's kind of interesting. Harlem of the South at the one time in North Carolina, dealing with the same situations. This Goins family that and you see how they talk about the mulatto, you know what I mean? The mixtures and all that. They're letting you know. And this family, in this book, literally, because it's connected to some, to Lumbee. Shout out to the Lumbee. You know what I mean? Their situation. Shout out to Mr. B the other day. She said, and shout out to Sherry and Lamont actually too. All the people that I was talking to the other day that say they got people from North Carolina or from that area, and they're connected to the Lumbee and the different connections up there with the groups of people and their genealogy. You know what I'm saying? So, Carolina Genesis. Get this book. Check this book out. It's a lot of good dope in here. Let me see if I can slide something else in here real quick because I want to try to make up, like I said, from last week. This is a good picture. You know. You see that? Carolina Genesis. Yeah, like I said, get this book right here. What's that page I've been trying to get off my chest, bro? 63, isn't it? 63. Okay, this is it. No, let's just go back. All right, this is what I missed. So dealing with that word America real quick, and we out of here. I told y'all about Amaracario. When I told you about Macarios, we talking about Americo Vespucci, Albergio dude, and these different missions. And if you're not familiar, I'm going a little bit back because we talked about Black Wall Street, but I didn't know need to throw this last little piece for me slide. So Macario I found in this book, also in the Carolina Genesis, outside of other things that is very good information in this book. But because of the certain information, you could back up with a certain missionary post with the oldest place, and they said town in what we call North America, which is dealing with St. Augustine. So St. Augustine in its mission, because originally this same missionary place was in Panama before it came to St. Augustine, Florida, the same name. And the name is El Nombre de Dios de Amacaris, which was acknowledged as a Yamasi town located in Timucua province of La Florida. Swanton. See, I was telling y'all last week, I'm telling you that my tooth was killing me. But Swanton, not Sanson, dealing with the Atlantis Insula map, but Swanton, who we were telling you that had them. I'm telling you, I was had bills and stuff, boy, it's too much mixing. God, I can't do that again. So Swanton, Swanton, applied the name Amacaris as the original name of the Yamacraw. But the funny thing about it is it goes into saying that this same Amacaris or Amacario term, Amorgarakan, is also the name that they mentioned of the people down in South America, in Brazil. They were Amaracapana. See, that word has been used as a descriptive term for a super group of people that would be aboriginal to the land. So they were coming in contact and using this term as a general term, and then all the groups would, and this is dealing with the Spanish, because they tell you that, I'm going to read this real quick. The earliest appearance of the variant named Amorgarakan, I knew I spelled it wrong, went back and watched it say Amorgarickkan in the land that eventually became the United States, is recorded by the Spanish in 1680 as Amacaris, a tribal name contained in the title of the Florida mission El Nombre de Dios de Macorís. It lets you know it says it appears in the Carolina records as Amasi, Amassi, the Carolina Genesis. You know, it's in the records. So, you know, I just want to make sure I put that. Again, if you want any interest in this information, you want to dig it up, press me, you can put the sources they got. Obviously, for all these things, as he just said, at the end of at the bottom of this page, John R. Swanton, Early History of the Creek Indians and Their Neighbors, Gainesville University of Florida, 1922. You know what I mean? Yamakar related to a band of Yamasi. Amos J. Wright Jr., Historic Indian Towns in Alabama, 1540 to 1838. The Tuscaloosa University, Alabama, 2003. And then from the collection of Von Almore, Choctaw Creek Descendants. You know what I mean? There's notes for that right there as well. It's notes at the bottom of every page in this book. It's good information if you're interested in a lot of this stuff, especially dealing with the Southeast and what took place off of the coming down from South America and all the different migrations, some of the admixtures, especially with some of the people that ended up in the Carolinas. Thank you for tapping in. Aboriginal Wall Street every first Sunday. Don't forget each and every Sunday right here. Music Media Lounge. Shout out to Blaze. He got caught up today. Things happen. Next week, Sunday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Coming early, vibe with us before we get popping with our special guests or whatever we got going on with the campaign mix. And at the same time, special guests each and every week usually. Next week, we're doing a matriarchal panel discussion. It's going to be a woman's panel, some women that's doing business, some women that's talking about social things, some women that's got some political things to say. It's going to be an interesting conversation and panel. Well, you know, we don't do Valentine's, but we definitely doing a matriarchal thing. You dig? Just let you know we vibing and tapping in next week. Tap in for the conversation. Thank you for tapping in. TheAtomicParty.com. We'll see you next week. Peace and love.